Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 59 of the Friday Nightmares podcast. On this episode, we will be talking German horror as we continue our horror from around the world. I am one half of your hosting team this evening, Mr. Smoke Show Crawford, coming to you from the town of Swartz Creek, in the county of Genesee, in the state of Michigan, in the United States of America, in North American continent, in the Western Hemisphere, on the planet Earth, in the Milky Way galaxy, fully vaxxed, boosted and waxed, and ready to climax. And if you can, please get me wet, feed me after midnight. And I am also known as the man in the red shirt with the not so glorious beard, aka Scott Housen, aka Triangle Head. And with me, as always, is
Heather Powell, because I don't have any cool nicknames like Scott, coming to you from Watertown, Ontario, Canada, and the way less fun person on the Friday Nightmares podcast. Though Scott, when you said episode 59, I was like 10 more from 69. Hell yeah!
yeah. 69.
That's the number Scott and I are going to record to, and we're just going to stop at that number. So everyone, for the rest of our lives, we can say, "Why don't we stop at 69?"
Now, what's going to happen is we're gonna hit 69, and then from here on out, every episode we record after that is always going to be 69. We're never going to go past 69.
Yeah, it's just going to be 69 like Groundhog Day forever and Happy Death Day. It's like the same Friday Night episode over and over and over again. Welcome. I appreciate that we took a little bit of an extra little break. Scott and I have very busy social lives apparently, and Scott was away last weekend, which is why we didn't record, and I was recording Slumber Party Massacre. So it kind of took away from when we would usually record together. So we were able to record for this Sunday. So we're just a week delayed, but then we'll go back to our 2-week process until, I don't know, something else comes up and Scott might have to take a break again. Who knows? But we try to stay pretty regular. We eat our brand.
I was just going to say, we eat our fiber.
We do our best to stay as regular as possible. But Scott, like, you had the day of adventures last weekend, so why don't you talk about what you did?
All right, so yeah, it'll also kind of go into why I added aka Triangle Head to my introduction. But
that's true.
But yeah, so like pretty much Mandy and I ended up well, actually, guess I should start from the very beginning of the weekend. We had our festival here in Swartz Creek called Hometown Days, and I decided to take a walk over there. It's about a mile and a half from my house, so I decided, screw it, good weather, time for a walk. So I just walked over there, walked around, ate some carnival food, played some carnival games, just enjoyed the atmosphere, came home, watched fireworks on my front porch, which was really awesome. Second day, not so great. So ended up just chilling at home, and then my buddy Don got a hold of me asking if I wanted to meet him at the Hometown Days. So I was like, sure, why not? It was him and my goddaughter. So she's 6 years old. Well, before I get there, I get to the gas station, and people are up there and like freaking out, saying that a fight had broken out at the festival and a gun was drawn, but it sounded like cops had already broken it up. So I called Don and just said, hey, this is what's going on. I know you're bringing your daughter, so just wanted to give you a heads up. And I was like, it sounds like it's cleared out. He's like, well, more than likely, it's going to be less of a crowd now, so might as well go. I'm like, okay. And I get there and I go to meet him. Like, he's somewhere in the carnival at this point. And as I walk around the corner to where all the carnival games are, all of a sudden, a group of like 60 people just scream out, gun! And everyone scatters and people are getting trampled. And I'm freaking out thinking I'm in the middle of a mass shooting. So I freaking book it back to my car. And I'm like having basically a panic attack. I called Don up just to see where he's at. Apparently he's at the back of the carnival with his goddaughter, or with my goddaughter. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm waiting a second just to see what's happening. I was like, but I'll come get you and like at least I'll be on the other side of you. That way we can kind of sandwich in your daughter and make sure she doesn't like take off running just because, she's 6.
Yeah.
And
of course.
I was like, we can get the hell out of here. And like, I was freaking out. Apparently fights broke out all over there, and they were just kind of like moving forward. Cops were clearing people out. I end up running back in, finding Don and his daughter, and we start walking back, and some carnies see us and explain what's going on. Yeah, apparently guns were drawn. People thought shots were fired, but no one is for sure what happened. I did hear 2 loud bangs, but I couldn't tell if that was fireworks or a gunshot. So like the carnies walked us out, like were escorting us. And as we come up to the front, about 40 punk kids all up on the all lined up out front, all from Flint. And the cops were blocking the entire road, had cops all over, just kind of questioning everybody, and basically it looked like fights were about to break out right in front of the cops. It was a complete disaster. Just for a heads up, Flint does not host any of these types of carnival/festivals anymore because of crap like this, because it's just too much problems, too many issues. People have been killed, people have been hurt, and so they end up coming to festivals nearby. And unfortunately, they brought Flint to Swartz Creek. And yeah, a lot of bad crap happened. And finally got down to his car, got back to my place. And I basically just had a freaking panic attack and was just anxiety ridden and just having a hard time focusing on anything. And I had to be up early the next day and basically was not going to get much sleep. Thankfully, Heather, you called and was checking up on me and tried to help me from freaking out too much, because it was extremely scary. And yeah, now I have trauma from that.
Yeah, I could tell from your messages how upset you were. I was in the process of leaving a friend's house that Scott and I both know. And I was like, do you want me to give you a call? And yeah, we were on the phone for about an hour.
Yeah.
So you sounded more relaxed enough by the time we got off the phone.
Yes.
You were very upset, and rightfully so. That's an extremely traumatic event.
Yeah, it freaked me out because I had no idea what was going on, and I still really don't know what exactly happened, because different news media outlets are saying it's one thing, and then Swartz Creek saying it wasn't that.
What did Fox News say? Because they tell the truth.
Yeah, they totally tell it.
They said it was a ballerina contest, right? And that one of the ballerinas got out of control. That sounds like
pretty much
accurate news reporting, right? Fox
News? Yeah, pretty much. No, we're too small town to worry about for Fox News.
You know what? All I gotta say, Scotty, is this is the worst Pure Michigan commercial I have ever heard to come to Michigan. But what happened to the Crystal Lakes and the nature and the getaway? And now it just sounds like Flint shoot him up and Scotty running for his little Scotty life.
Yeah, it was horrible. I mean, Pure Michigan will come here in a second when I start talking about the next thing I had.
But this is another gun control issue. Here's the thing, Scott. Yes. Are we, and I understand in Canada, people own firearms. Just to make something very fucking clear here. I have been to a gun range. I have fired a gun. I have been around guns. I've had friends that own them. It's not like Canada doesn't have guns. Yes, we are limited compared to you guys of what kind of guns we can buy, but absolutely we have guns. The difference is you can't just walk into a store and buy one. You have to get something called a gun license, and there's a process. And then you do have to take a training course on how to properly store your weapons, and there's a police check, and there's other things that are done to ensure. Now, I'm sure there are illegal guns that happens in Flint because you have a lot of gang violence. Mm-hmm. So these might not even be legal guns. Same with in Canada, we have an import of illegal guns as well, for sure. But there's a lot of gun violence that does occur in the States that is with illegal guns. So whether this was illegal guns or not, the message is still very clear that perhaps some checks and balances should be put into place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially when it's only 6 months into 2022, and I already seen the stats of 280 mass shootings have already happened in the freaking States,
right?
In just this year. It's freaking insane, and it's bullshit.
If driving a car is a privilege and you need to get a license and do a road test to prove that, I don't see why there shouldn't be a privilege that comes with owning a gun.
Right.
And it's not saying people can't own guns, but it's saying that you should be tracked and registered. And, perhaps if you have a history of violence, perhaps other precautions should be taken before you get a semi-automatic,
Right.
It's not saying
it's common sense.
Can't own a gun, because I don't think guns kill people. I think people kill people.
Yes.
I'm definitely not naive enough to be get rid of all guns. That's not the solution. The bigger problem is poverty and social inequality and anger and frustration and privilege, and there's so many layers to it, right? But bottom line is, I'm glad you were okay, Scotty, and I'm glad I could be there for you, because the next day you did have an opposite of a really nice day. That's what I meant. Yeah. You know what I meant.
Yeah. But no, the next day was definitely a Pure Michigan type thing. So yeah, the next morning I got up super early, I think it was 4:30 in the morning, and met up with Mandy, and we ended up driving out and went to West Branch for breakfast, and then we ended up going to Mackinac City / Mackinac Island. So people that may not know, Mackinac City is right before the huge bridge that we had, the huge suspension bridge, Mackinac Bridge, which we're famous for, and we have a very popular touristy destination called Mackinac Island. What this is I'm not sure how large the island is, but it is an island where no automobiles of any sort are allowed on the island. You only can get around by horseback, walking, or bicycle. The only motorized vehicles that are on the island are emergency vehicles. So it's a big touristy, just awesome little like adventure to go on. So Mandy and I get to Mackinac City. We get park our car and then we jump on the ferry to the boat to take us across to the island. And we got there early because there is a boat tour that takes us like right underneath the Mackinac Bridge. It normally doesn't do that except for like twice a day or something like that. So we wanted to do that because it's just kind of cool to go underneath this massive ass bridge. Because the Mackinac Bridge is I think 5 miles long, and it connects us to the UP. But yeah, it took us to the island and just kind of went walking around and just enjoying the sights, like, like pretty much right by the lakeside the whole entire time. And a lot of awesome souvenir shops, lots of homemade fudge because Mackinac is known for its homemade fudge.
Num num.
And a lot of awesome restaurants there, lots of just beautiful sights to see. And well, Scotty got to try something for his first time that he was a little nervous just because, first time, but at the same time,
oh my God, excited. I totally want to make it an appropriate joke here, but I'm not going to make it, Scott.
I know you would. But
Phil Ray, you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Phil's like, what was it, Scotty?
But
did you see a stallion there, Scott?
Oh, I sure did. I mean, Phil Ray wasn't there, but I mean, but no, I ended up, got to see a lot of horse-drawn carriages and stuff like that. Beautiful animals, of course. But no, the first time experience that I had was Mandy got me to go horseback riding for the first time ever. And it's like it was an hour-long horseback ride that basically took us around the island through the woods and kind of came back. But I obviously had a trail guide and all that. But Mandy, obviously, like I brought on the podcast before, loves horseback riding. So she wanted to do it and she didn't want to leave me behind and like just sitting there waiting for her. So I was like, yeah, screw it. I'll do it because I wanted to experience this.
And I bet you did.
Yeah. but yeah, that was amazing. I got a beautiful black horse named Midnight. I was getting laughed at by Mandy, of course, because after I hopped on the horse, like we're kind of waiting for everybody else to get on theirs. And while I was waiting, the horse was kind of like impatiently just kind of stepping back and forth. And I just felt off balance and like was just like, well, okay, this is weird. I'm kind of nervous. I'm trusting this 1,200-pound animal with my life. Okay, this is kind of scary. But then once he got going, I got into the rhythm of how he was walking. So I was able to kind of like move with him. And it was incredible. I
do the same thing when I ride.
Oh my God.
Horses.
I was waiting for that.
Sorry, Scott.
I knew it was coming.
Episode 59, you should know by now.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
I also like to get in the rhythm. I can see what I'm doing right now.
Jesus Christ. But yes, so that was an amazing experience. Just had a blast, got a bunch of pictures. So a lot of my friends have already seen the pics of it. But then, we got done, went back to a restaurant, had some, had a nice lunch. And then we ended up went to a few more shops, then jumped back on the ferry, went back to Mackinac City, where we had a hotel right on the beach that had its own bonfire pit on the beach with its own beach chairs. So, we got to chill, like just lakeside with a bonfire, listening to music, drinking, and having s'mores. I also was challenged by Mandy to jump into the lake because it was only 60 degrees out, so the lake was ice cold. But of course, I had to do it. I got challenged and freaking went out there, just jumped right in, and froze my butt off. But then we decided to go to the pool and hot tub and hope there was no one there. We had the whole place to ourselves for 2 hours, so it was like nice, relaxing. I haven't went swimming in a pool in I don't know how many years. So that was really great. And then, went and got pizza, came back, had the bonfire, and just chilled, listened to music, drank, and then, sat in the jacuzzi tub in our hotel, and just Mandy ended up just falling asleep. So I just sat in the hot tub by myself, just watching South Park, relaxing. And ended up coming back the next day. We hit up a few more shops in the city on our way home, and just had an amazing freaking time. Like it was probably one of the better vacations I've taken in a while, even though it was only a day and a half. And it was just so incredible.
What happened at air hockey, Scott?
So
I first of all, I would like to thank Mandy for dethroning the king. It's about
Yes.
time someone took you off your throne. And it was also
So
nice that Mandy did this community service of taking you out for a day and a half. Does she get like acknowledged for that?
I'm sure she's going to be getting refunded in her taxes for taking
Oh,
someone this
excellent,
special like me.
excellent, excellent, excellent.
But
But let's hear about your hockey, Scott.
all
What
right, so
happened?
yeah, like on our way. Well, first actually, we woke up that morning, and this is where Triangle Head comes into play. So woke up the next morning, looked in the mirror. Well, her and I both forgot to get sunscreen before we went to Mackinac Island, and we got pretty cooked. And the reason I'm called Triangle Head now is because I was wearing my hat like I am right now, which is a baseball cap backwards. And the little triangle shape that's right there was imprinted on my skin. So you can see that just this triangle shaped red spot on my head where I got these wonderful hat tan lines. And Mandy goes, "Oh my God, you're like the generic version of Pyramid Head from Silent Hill. You're Triangle Head." And but then yes, then we went out, got breakfast, then we went to I can't remember the name of the place. I think it was Pharaoh's something or other, but she wanted to get some fudge and everything from there. And while we were there, they had like this game room and there was air hockey. And she's like, "I want to play air hockey." I'm like, "All right." I've been cocky with her, like, "Oh, I'm gonna kick your ass" for like so long on air hockey because she's been wanting to challenge me. And I'm like, "I haven't been defeated in I don't know how many years," because I used to own an air hockey table in my basement.
The hickey
Never
table.
the hickey table. God damn it.
Scott also has never been defeated with the amount of hickeys he's given.
I use a vacuum cleaner, okay?
All right.
But yeah, as our show knows, I have defeated Heather
Many
thoroughly
times.
multiple times.
Many
And
times.
yeah, like I had a hockey table in my basement, beat
Hickey
everybody
table.
there, hockey table. And so yeah, I was getting cocky and decided to play against Mandy. And yeah, I thought I was kicking her ass because it was a good game and I was like a couple points ahead. And then she ended up catching up to me and then scoring one more point than me, and then the time ran out. So she beat me by 4-3.
So she beat you in like overtime almost.
Pretty much. And of course, since I was cocky, she had to take a picture of me being all cocky in front of the hockey table beforehand, and then made sure to rub it in on a Facebook post saying that the look you get when you get defeated by someone else for being so cocky or something along those
Yeah,
lines.
it like made my day. I kind of feel like Mandy's my hero now. Hold on, I have a song for her. Does she still listen?
Yeah, as far as I know, she still
Yeah.
listens.
Mandy, did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything I wish I could be. You beat Scotty at air hockey. You are the wind beneath my wings.
Oh, so
I
yeah,
like
my
watching
ego
the
has
king
been.
be dethroned. It's good.
I'll say, yeah, my ego has been deflated, but I will be back for revenge.
Oh man, is your ego ever deflated? Like, I don't even think that's a fucking thing, dude. Like, this podcast created a monster. We could have a horror movie just based on Scott's ego from doing Friday Nightmares. Like, we're fucking 15 minutes into it. All we've heard about is this fucking weekend.
A lot has happened during that weekend, you know, to be fair.
Well, I would go into my time, but I don't have that. Well, I guess I went to a campground last night that looked like fucking Friday, like Nightmare on Elm, not Nightmare on Elm, Friday the 13th. So much so that I sent George a picture of the cabin, and he said, "If you guys get killed by Jason, do I have to take care of the dogs?" So Dan and I were there with the dog. Well, the dogs weren't there; they were at her mom's place, but. Yeah, and that was my night, and partying up at a barn that was turned into a club. I felt like I was in fucking Michigan. I felt like you should have been there, Scott. Barn party.
I mean, it seems like my home away from home right there.
Absolutely, right? So, but yeah, I'm doing pretty good for like partying last night and sleeping in a fucking campground. Like, I'm here.
Yeah, you made it, and
I'm here.
I was shocked you were already home.
Well, Anne woke up at 7:30 and proceeded to wake me up.
Oh God.
And decided she wanted to leave, which was fine because what else do you have to do, right? Like, you've partied
Right.
all you can party, you drank all you can drink, you've smoked all you can smoke, you've danced all you can dance. Now it's just go home. But yeah, we hung out by the pool yesterday, and unfortunately she didn't meet anybody because the goal of this event was to have her meet somebody. She didn't, sadly.
No, that's unfortunate.
It's hard for ladies to meet other ladies. You know,
It
it is different. There was a lot of so this was an LGBTQ plus campground. I guess like I should state that. I don't even know if it really matters, but that's where we were. And it was a drag show event. And it was actually the winner of Canada's Drag Race that was the main drag queen.
Oh,
And let me
nice.
tell you, I get what she fucking won. Like you can tell like the drag queens that are above that level, you know, like you get local drag queens and you get drag queens that do this for like hundreds and thousands of people on TV, and you're like, yeah, you got the skill set. Like it's a completely different level of skill. But I didn't beat anyone at air hockey. I just made friends with people and drank a lot and smoked a lot of weed and hashtag lived my best life and even did myself up. Though the funny thing is to use the showers, you had to put a loonie in, and I'll explain to you off air, Scott, why that is.
The hell is a loony?
Oh, like a dollar.
Oh,
you've been
put a
up
loony.
here.
No, I thought like it was something like I wasn't thinking
like I
money.
Take a bird and shove the bird into the shower.
Yeah, I was thinking like, what is this? Like some weird ass.
I take the loon around, get the loon, I capture the loon, I give it in. They're like, all right, you may have a shower.
You caught the loon, you deserve it.
You deserve a shower, but you put $1 in and it gave you 4 minutes. So it was the quickest shower of my life. I was like,
that's weird.
Because well, I'll explain to you off air why. It makes sense why when you find out why that is. But anyway, yeah, it was a lot of fun. So here I am, and here Scott is, and here we are to talk about. We've watched some 2022's good news, everybody. Scott decided to watch movies again because he actually watched some shit, I think, right, Scott?
Total of 4. Right?
Fuck's sake, Scott! It was 3 weeks.
Well, yeah, 2022 needs to start putting out some gems.
Sakes. Mandy, can you start watching 2022's with Scott? Because honestly, like. Besides him riding stallions all the time, he needs to start putting. You should leave the riding to me, Scott.
Well, I mean, like I said, if Phil Ray wasn't there, I'd be riding him all right.
That's right. Oh, shout out to Horror for Dummies. Daniel's coming to Canada, but not to my part of Canada. He's going to Vancouver to visit his brother for 3 weeks. So
that he is.
Good for him. If money was no issue, I'd fly out to Vancouver and find him. I mean, visit with him.
Stalk him.
Yeah, I would totally.
I see you.
Hi, Daniel. He'd be like, hey.
He's like, what's this crazy C word doing?
Hey, Heather, this isn't weird at all. Anyway, so we'll get into our 2022s because Scott watched 4 and I watched 18, so we have a lot to go through. So the first thing, did you watch this first thing that I told you to watch?
Nope, because Shudder was not working on my phone, and that was the only way I had to get it.
Oh yeah, because you don't live in a house that has televisions with Shudder. I forgot.
Well, I just wasn't in the mood to watch something when I got home.
Fuck's sake, Scotty. Why do we have a podcast, Scotty? Why do we
for this right here, for this banter right here?
For you to talk about your fucking trip and your gun violence in the United States of America? You know what you should be on? Psychosomatic podcast.
Yeah, no shit.
You should be on.
Oh.
Everyone check out Darren's podcast, Psychosomatic. It's excellent and well-educated, and Darren's extremely well-spoken as opposed to this podcast. So we're going to talk about I'm going to talk about Fangoria's Chainsaw Awards 2022. It is available on the Shutty. It is not a 2022 movie release, but it is a award show that recognizes horror performances and movies from last year. So some of the movies that were nominated included Psycho Gorman, Saint Maud, as well as Sun, as well as His House, as well as there's a couple others. I can't. I said Psycho Gorman already. The Quiet Place 2, Halloween. There was actually an international film that was acknowledged. I can't remember which one won, but it's a really cute little award show. It's only an hour and a half in length, and they actually got some pretty good presenters. Like John Carpenter was on there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and Last Night in Soho. Who directed Last Night in Soho?
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright was on there and accepted an award. I will let everyone guess which award and what movie he accepted for. But yeah, it was really, really cool. The people that were on there, and Candyman was nominated, so you actually heard from the actor who was the lead in Candyman.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there was some really, really cool stuff that happened. And it's an hour and a half long. And unless you're Scott, who doesn't want to support the horror genre, you should watch the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards because it's an award show for horror fans by horror fans.
When I was going to say,
Scott.
Well, I was gonna say too that it's cool that they are televising this now because for a while there it was Fangoria was only doing post. It's been going on for a couple of years now, but they were only posting the award nominees and winners on like their Facebook and their website. It wasn't
You know what
actually
would make it
recorded.
more popular if people watched it, like
Bite,
Scott.
bite.
So he's like, you know what, Heather? It's just because you're a loser in air hockey. That's what it is. USA, USA.
America. Bang, bang, bang.
Look, don't make me bring a super soaker and scare you, Scott. Run around your house when I come.
It may
visit you.
traumatize me at this point.
I know. I'm like, super soaker. It's not like in a ball corner. I'm like, are we not going to AEW now? Because
Like all shaking and terrified.
Right? Should I just leave? But anyway, take a look unless you're Scott and you don't like horror films and you don't care about supporting the genre.
No, I will be watching a bunch of these over the next couple of days because I got a lot of free time on my hands.
You do have a lot of free time. There's no excuse. You could have watched this shit last night.
No, honestly. I had to get caught up on show prep because I was slacking on that.
You are such a slacker. Honestly, the things I do for this business. You
carry the show. We know it.
I carry the show on my big broad shoulders. So watch it on Shudder, the Fangoria Chainsaw Wars. The next one I'm going to talk about, because I'm sure this motherfucker hasn't watched this movie.
Nope, not yet.
No, of course not. Is Monstrous with Christina Ricci. So Christina Ricci's making a comeback. It's an 89-minute runtime. It is available on the iTunes, the Google Play, the YouTube, the Tubi, and the AMC Amazon channel. Laura, traumatized by an abusive relationship, runs away from her former husband with her 7-year-old son, Cody. But in their new, idealistic, remote sanctuary, they find they have another bigger, more terrifying monster to deal with. So I watched this one with George, who I do bring up frequently on this podcast as a mediocre horror fan, we'll say.
Yeah.
He likes horror, but not as much as like Scott and I do. But so he watched this one with me. It starts off one way and ends very different. I wasn't sure how much I bought into this movie at first. At first, I was like, what the fuck is going on here? But the third act saved this film for me. Tim Davis gave it a 2.5 star, but that's Tim Davis, and he doesn't have hope. So actually, I may be recording a Horror for Dummy episodes with Tim Davis.
Me too.
Oh, I thought it was just me he asked.
And I thought it was just me he asked as well. And then he brought up
wow.
I talked to Heather, earlier. I'm going, okay.
He didn't tell me that. It's like he just asked us separately to the prom.
Right? And he's just like, well, in case one says no, then I just can't tell him what's going on.
You know why? Tim could never take me one-on-one. That's why.
He's scared.
Oh, he should be. Anyway.
And he wants to take me on one-on-one.
Oh, I know he does. I'm surprised he invited me. Probably because he was worried about what happened to him if he didn't invite me on the show and he invited you. So it's a legit concern. Legit.
Makes sense.
Yes. But yeah, like I'm as much as I tease, I'm partial to agree with him. Also, Sandra Kane gave it 2 stars. I think it's 2 into 2.5. Like honestly, I really enjoyed the third act, but the first little bit of it I was like, what the fuck is going on here? But if you enjoy Christina Ricci and you enjoy kind of like the twist kind of films and the woman empowerment leaving an abusive situation, and it's not a bad film. She's a pretty good actress in it. She carries a lot of the movie. And it is available for free on Tubi, so you can always watch it on there. So the next one I watched is this year's latest shark movie, and it's called Sharkbait.
I was gonna ask you if this was any good or not.
You know what? I'm gonna bring up his name again. Say my name, say my name. Tim Davis watched this as well. He gave it 3.5 stars, and I'm prone to agree with him.
Wow.
Like, it's a shark film. I really didn't like the Alicia Silverstone one that came out this year. I thought that one was not that great. This is like your typical group of friends hanging out in Mexico. There's some drama within the group of friends. They jump on some water skis being typical dumb teenagers, and they get into an accident. And they're stuck in the middle of the ocean and they have to fight off a shark. So if you can, forgive some shitty CGI and you can get past, very convenient, typical plot acting, it's entertaining enough. This is light, fluffy brain candy. If you like shark movies, and you enjoy being entertained by them, I think you'll find this movie fine. Don't walk into this movie thinking it's going to be the next Jaws or what was the one with Blake Lively that came out, The Shallows.
Oh, The Shallows, yeah.
Yeah, like those are two really fucking amazing shark films. Like this is not that at all, but it's better than some other shit. So,
right, and I like those just easy to watch shark movies that I go in expecting them to be entertaining.
Yeah,
and I don't expect a masterpiece, and it's either they're going to be shit or they're going to be entertaining.
Yeah, and this was entertaining. So if you are a shark movie fan, I suggest watching it. If you're not, then you probably aren't going to miss out on much. But I think if you like shark movies and you dig them, check this one out. I think you'll have a good enough time. It's available on the iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and Microsoft Store. Now, we are going to come to a movie that Scotty's actually fucking watched.
I haven't watched this. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, you did. Say my name, say my name. And it is Firestarter. So I'll give over I started, so I'll just finish it off. It's a 94-minute runtime. It's a remake of the classic that came out in the 80s with Drew Barrymore, and people are shitting on it because it's a remake. In my opinion. Readaptation. I've never seen the original, but everyone who I've listened to, like Tim Davis, is like, I fell asleep during it. You told me that you thought it was boring. I have yet to find people that I've yet to meet someone that likes the first one, by the way, the original.
Yeah, I've never watched the original. I've just heard that it was boring.
Oh, I thought you watched it. And
no, I've just heard a lot of people say that it was not good.
So I'll let you go first. What are your thoughts on this one, Scott?
Well, I mean, it's X-Men. Firestarter. That's right. Basically, yeah. I honestly had fun with this. I don't see where it gets the hate. I thought, because it stars Zac Efron as the father to the daughter that has the pyrokinetic powers. Yeah. And I thought he did a great job as the father who also had some abilities as well. It definitely had some really awesome set pieces. It's definitely horror. It's got a lot of the horror elements, obviously known by Stephen King's novel. But yeah, I ended up watching this and found it to be entertaining. I don't get the hate for it at all. I thought it was decent. It was, I mean, it's not going to be anything anywhere near my top 10 or top 20, but it's easy watch. It was entertaining. I thought the acting was good. Special effects were good.
Yeah.
Story was good.
And I've heard what this one did differently is it pulled on the action, where the first one was more about the relationships and stuff. This was more about jumping right into the action. And I don't think it deserves a 1.9 on Letterboxd. I really don't.
No,
this is not a 1.9 movie. I don't think it should be a 3.0 either. I think somewhere it's average. It's entertaining.
Yep, I gave it a 3 out of 5. Yeah, because I was it's above average. It's above a 5 for me. It's something that I wouldn't, if it was on TV, I'd probably stop and watch it.
Yeah, it reminded me of Brightburn.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was very similar to Brightburn.
I would like to see these worlds collide. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see her and the Brightburn kid, because she's kind of still a protagonist, right?
Yeah.
Even though she's had to do something bad, she is actually still very much a protagonist. And I would like to see, her do shit. I think that would be cool, to be honest.
Yeah, the only part that I had a hard time was with there was a scene with a cat. That part was tough for me.
Oh yeah, that was tough for me too. But we don't like pet violence. But honestly, I think people are shitting on this film. I can't find a reason why this film is a 1 star. I can't. I think it's a well-made movie. I don't think it's a shitty film. Now, if you like the original Firestarter and you're comparing the two, and sure, I guess, but this isn't a bad movie. It really isn't. But you know what? It came out, and probably people are gonna like it, and some people are gonna hate it, and I don't know. I thought it was fine. It was average for me. Entertaining enough.
Yeah, I'll say it was just a little above average for me. It was, I had entertainment from it. I did not hate watching it. Did not feel like I wasted my time. It was
short. It got to the fucking point. It didn't fuck around.
Yeah, I would not have been disappointed if I seen this in theaters.
Yeah, I think it would have been a good theater watch. There's some good special effects in it. So yeah, it's available on iTunes, Amazon, Cineplex, Microsoft Store, Peacock Premium. So if it's still in the theaters here. So if you want to go see it in the theaters in Canada, you can. Or you can rent it. I think if you enjoy Brightburn, I think you'll enjoy this film. If you didn't like Brightburn, or you really love the original Firestarter, you're probably not going to like this.
Yeah, but I'd also say if you're a fan of Stephen King.
Yeah, Yeah, like I think it's just a fun, fluffy, entertaining film.
Yeah, I
So,
enjoyed it.
right? Everyone just needs to stop hating. We need to
Yeah,
stop
that's
being
not going to
haters.
happen.
I know, right? I know. All right, the next one is a documentary. Documentary. And it is, oh, I'll let you go. Scott, you've seen this, right?
Yep. So
Thank
yeah,
God.
this is a Shudder exclusive that came out a couple weeks ago. Called the Found Footage Phenomenon, and
Phenomenon.
yeah, it's pretty much. I was impressed. Like, I thought this was a very good documentary because it actually like dives deep into like a lot of older found footage stuff. Because yeah, I completely forgot about these films, but like it was, everyone always says, "Oh, Blair Witch started the found footage thing," and it's like, and I'd always argue, no, Cannibal Holocaust started it, and then I was even wrong because I completely forgot about these. But the Mondo Kane films that were out during the 70s were like a documentary found footage style, like, and it like they were, they're very hard to find nowadays, but yeah, they're like,
Mm-hmm.
pretty messed up films. I
Mm-hmm.
actually used to have some of those on VHS back in the day, but yeah, this covers a wide variety and talks about every type of found footage out there, and like covers a lot of the films. Obviously, like it didn't, if it covered all the films, it would be the length of In Search of Darkness, but like,
Oh man, such a good fucking documentary
but
though.
no, they did an amazing job with this. Gave a lot of history, they had a lot of directors of these movies on there talking about their films, and like talking about the reason why found footage is so easy to do and so popular. And they brought up a lot of movies like, because like I said, like I've talked about before, I think found footage has kind of become one of my favorite subgenres because I went deep dive, like, and have continued to, and just keep finding like all these like hidden gem found footage films I never seen before. And
Agreed.
it brought up a couple that I wrote down on the list that I need to check out now, because like, yeah, this was a very fascinating documentary.
So you're gonna watch those next year?
Well, one's on the older watches list, smart ass.
Oh, look at you, huh? Coming back with a back attack. Bam. Yeah, no, I agree with you, Scotty. I think Shutter, like, there's only been one documentary on Shutter that I didn't really care for. The rest of them have been great.
Yeah.
Honestly, if a documentary comes out on Shutter, it's usually high quality, well made, entertaining. You learn something from it, and yeah, this one was no exception, and it moves quick.
Yeah,
Like
it
it
does.
moves quick, which is nice. And I strongly recommend it. If you got the Shuddy, I don't know why you wouldn't watch it. So it's on Shutter, Amazon, Shutter, regular Shutter, AMC plus Amazon. Not Shutter for children, not children's Shutter though.
Not yet. We're working on that one.
We're working on that one still. Watership Down just keeps playing on constant repeat so far.
Scarring all the children.
We're going to switch over soon to, let's see, what's another scarring?
We can bring in Neverending Story and the Artax scene.
Oh, what's the one? The night, Silent Night. Silent Night? No, what's the little Christmas one? Fuck, why can't, there's a whole bunch of them. There's 4 of them about Billy. What's it called? I can't come to
Silent Night, Deadly Night?
Silent Night, Deadly Night. That, and we'll make them all traumatized about Santa Claus.
Yes.
That's our goal. There's one that I saw last year about the Easter Bunny that I would put on there too. Just somebody Easter Bunny suit, it kills people. It's funny. Anyway, so check it out if you haven't had a chance to. The found footage phenomenon.
Phenomenon.
Now, have you seen this next one?
No, you've been telling me to watch this. This is the first one I will be watching today. I'm waiting. Okay, I know. Yell at me.
You know what, Scott? I'm just disappointed.
And I don't want to disappoint you, Heather. I am sorry.
It's nice when a man says that for a change.
Wow. Oh my God.
So funny. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Was that not funny?
Oh, that was great. That caught me off guard.
I know. You're like, why am I doing this show still? Duel is, so people are going to tell me that this is sci-fi, and yes, it absolutely is, but it's a great fucking film, and I consider it a horror film. So Duel is a 95-minute runtime, and it is basically about a terminally ill woman who finds out she's terminally ill. She's very awkward in her personality, and there's a procedure that is available in this world where you can have yourself cloned, and that clone can take over your place, and so your loved ones don't miss you. So you can bring the clone in, and the clone can learn to act like you and do things like you before you die. So she does this. She gets a clone, but it turns out the clone ends up doing some things it shouldn't, and she ends up not being terminally ill. So when this situation occurs, and I'm not giving stuff away because you've learned this in the first 2 minutes of the film, the clone and the person, like the clone and the original, have to fight each other. So you find that out. I'm thinking of Dave C, because I know Dave C listens. Don't you worry, Dave. You find that within the first 50 seconds of the movie. I haven't given anything away. So it's very, very interesting film. It's probably going to be my number one film of the year right now.
Wow.
Yes, even more than The Cursed, which was really good. I thought this movie was fucking clever as anything. I thought it was well acted. I thought it was well written. I am nothing but praise for this film. I really, really enjoyed this film. It has a 3.2 rating right now on Letterboxd, and no one besides one person who I follow, who is not a podcaster, has watched this film.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it is definitely put this on your watch list. Now the girl in it's a little quirky, so you do kind of have to like a quirky kind of weird personality, but it is a fucking clever film. It is available on Amazon, Google Play, Vudu, Redbox. Check it out. Check it out.
Nice. This is one that I will be watching tonight for sure. I promise you that.
You promise?
I promise.
Okay. Have you seen this one?
Nope. This is one that I am also going to be watching tonight because I really want to see this one a lot. This one, the only reason I did not watch this one is because I know it is subtitled. I tried watching it at work and I couldn't do it there.
So Horror for Dummies did a review of this, talking a lot about Horror for Dummies today.
It's because they're our boyfriends.
Well, they're your boyfriends. Now that I know, I thought I was special. I meant something to Tim. It's always about Scott. Only about Scott.
Hey, to be fair, he did ask you first.
And then he realized if I was coming on, he's like, I can't fucking handle. Just that.
I need
someone.
I'd be
really nice to him though. He doesn't realize if he had me one-on-one, he would get a much nicer version. He doesn't realize that. It's just when I have to tag team two of you that I get real intense,
And
so
Tim and I love to be tag teamed. Yeah.
We sure do. Only Luffy won't be there, unfortunately. So The Hatchling is a 91-minute runtime. 12-year-old Tina is desperate to please her mother, a woman obsessed with presenting the image of a perfect family. One night, Tina finds a strange egg, and what hatches is beyond belief. This is a creature feature to end all creature features. What a fucking excellent film.
Really?
I really enjoyed this creature feature film. I thought it was well acted, well done, great special effects. I watched it with George. He also really dug it, found it creepy, found it really well put together. If you haven't watched this film yet, watch it. I think it might grace some people's top 10s, and it may even win an award this year, because I do think it's Duel will for sure. If Duel's not my number one film, it will win several awards, because I just enjoy it so much. But I enjoyed Rent a Pal. This is how much I enjoyed Duel.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So if you're interested though in Hatching, it is available on iTunes, Vudu, Google Play, Microsoft Store, and YouTube. And yes, it is worth actually all these movies are worth a rental. The only ones that maybe you may not pay as much for is Monstrous or Sharkbait, depending what you're into. But for the rest of them, I thought they were exceptional. And I would definitely recommend a rental for any of them. I think you'll have a really good time, and I can't wait to hear Scotty's thoughts on The Hatching.
Yeah, I will definitely be letting you know. And maybe it's just because I've been slacking on watches, I may bring it up on our next episode too.
You can say something. Talk about my name, Scott. Have you watched this one?
Nope.
Okay. So the next one is Captures. You know what? I feel like Lance right now is like, way to go, Scott, because he comes to us and asks us about 2022 releases, and now he knows not to go to you. He knows he should only go to me.
To be fair, I am at 50 movies. That's not bad.
Oh, no, it's not bad. It's just not good either.
I've just slacked off the last couple of months.
Yeah, I wonder why that was. Anyway, so a 94-minute runtime is Captures. This one's a movie that is a metaphor about human trafficking. Well, it's not even a metaphor. It's about human trafficking. And it's about the trauma that victims endure from after being human trafficked. It's a very heavy watch.
Oh, wow.
This is a movie that is very dark. Did I think it handled the subject well? It was okay. I don't think anyone has watched it besides me. I can't see anyone here else on the letterbox. It has a 2.7 rating. It feels like a 94-minute runtime. I get what they were trying to do with it. I understand the message. Human trafficking is a real problem.
Yeah.
And it is fucking disgusting, and it can happen to anybody. And sorry about that. I coughed and I had to cough away from my mic. And this film does highlight that. I just found the acting was a little rough for me, and it just didn't hold my attention. But if you are interested in this subject, or you want to see how they explore this subject, you can find it on iTunes, Vudu, FlickFling, and Microsoft Store. I would say rental wise, maybe $2.99 if for some reason like this kind of like blending of social political horror is interesting to you, but it's definitely not my favorite social political horror. I think there's other ones that are stronger. Now I think you watched this one because I didn't watch this one.
Yep. Yeah, so the next one is because I'm doing all the heavy lifting right here. But no, the next one on our list is called The Overnight. I'll give the synopsis. After a romantic weekend gets sidetracked, a young couple find themselves at an outdated hotel, caught up in murderous death loops and as bait for a demon. The concept I thought was really cool. I was like, okay, it's not like something completely new, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, death loops, which reminded me of one of my favorites on Shudder that I can't remember at the moment, but damn it, what was the name of that movie?
What year?
It was 2020. It was the satanic old couple that kept screwing up.
Oh, yeah, it was something about kid. Anything for Jackson?
Yeah, anything for Jackson. Thank you.
Yeah.
I had the concept kind of gave me that like vibes when I was reading about it. I'm like, oh, okay, I like the idea of this. Going into it, I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. Unfortunately, the concept is really all that's really good. The acting is mediocre to painful for some characters. The story was all over the place. It felt really didn't feel like it focused its ideas well enough, and it was not executed as well as I would like. Like I ended up all in all, like it wasn't awful, but it was just average when it could have been something really cool, and unfortunately did not reach that level, so it ended up being like a 5 out of 10 for me. So once again, another 2022 that I gave a shot that just disappointed. It was just, I wouldn't recommend it.
Instead of watching Duel, you watched The Overnight.
Well, yeah, I wanted to try bringing something new to the table, and I failed. But if you are interested in checking this out, it is on Vudu, Amazon Video, DirecTV, and Spectrum On Demand.
Spectrum On Demand. I don't have it on here, but actually, well, I do. The next one I don't have on here, but I'll say it anyway. Torn Hearts is the movie I watched. I don't think you watched this yet.
Not yet. This is what I'm curious about because it has Katie Seagal in it, so I'm very, very intrigued.
So it's directed by Hugh Grant, who we may know from The Stylist,
nice.
As well as After Midnight, as well as Lucky. Not only is she a phenomenal actor, I do think she's a decent director.
Wait, Hugh Grant or
View? Is it Brea?
Oh, Brea.
Brea Grant. Basically, the synopsis is a 97-minute runtime. A promising up-and-coming country duo seeks out the secluded manor of their ideal Harper Dutch, a former country star and Nashville royalty turned recluse. What starts off as a friendly visit devolves into a twist of series of horror, forcing the friends to confront the lights they will go to realize their future dream. Katie Seagal is great in it, who's Steven Seagal's daughter. She plays.
Is it?
Well, yeah, that's what it says here. Katie Seagal.
Yeah, but I don't think I don't think there's any relation.
Oh, I thought you said that was Steven Seagal's daughter.
No.
Oh, I was going to be like, okay, they look kind of old, both at the same time, but okay, Scotty, all right.
Nope, no, I don't think there's any relation whatsoever.
Oh, wait, she's from Married with Children,
Yeah,
right?
I'll say she's Peggy from Married with Children.
Oh, that's who she is. Okay, so yeah, I actually didn't even recognize her.
Yeah, she was also the voice of Leela in Futurama, and she was also in, I think she was one of the heads of the main characters in Sons of Anarchy.
Right. Okay.
She's been in a lot.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Steven Seagal. And then I'm like, oh, no, wait. I put it together. She doesn't look like Peggy in this at all, actually.
No, she does not.
Looks a lot different. But yeah, she was really, really good in this film. But this is like your typical kind of Blumhouse. It's not a Blumhouse film, but it might as well be. Okay. It's a little fluffy, some overarching themes about patriarchy and other shit. especially in the country music industry, and manipulation of women and stuff like that, which is all 100% true. None of that shit's like made up. That's exactly what happens. But I enjoyed it for what it was. I think it's a fun film, and there's some good gore in it, and there's some good scenes in it, and I think all the actors did a pretty bang up good job. This is available on iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Video, Cineplex, and YouTube. I would say a $3.99 rental, $4.99 if this is your kind of thing. You kind of like that, kind of Blumhouse-ish, like angry film kind of thing. Like if you like Brie Grant's other stuff, you'll probably like this film. Like if you enjoyed her in Lucky and you enjoyed After Midnight and you liked her in The Stylist, you like those kind of movies, you'll probably like this film because it's
I had
very
no
much up
idea.
that style.
I had no idea she was involved with this, so that makes me want to check it out even more.
Yeah, like I like her a lot. I think she's a really creative, talented person. And I think she's done a lot. So like she's directed 12-Hour Shift as well last year.
Did she really?
Yeah, she directed 12-Hour Shift. So like obviously this woman has some chops. She's been an actor in countless things. She wrote Lucky. She wrote 12-Hour Shift. She produced The Greatest Question, Facing the Future of Science and Robots. And she's acted in a fair amount of films. Very, very talented woman. So I think that, watch her because I think she's definitely going to continue to just get better and get stronger as a director. So that's Torn Hearts. The other one I watched with someone else that people know and love, Malene Ackerman, Jillian. She was in the one that was the
Final Girls.
Yes, the blonde in that,
yes.
Right? So she plays one of the main characters in this. It's basically about two women who are trying to.
Oh, you finished this?
Yes.
The Aviary.
The cult. The Aviary. It's a 95-minute runtime. This is a typical cult film, but the acting between the two main characters is quite good. And that's what's going to make you like this film, is that their interactions with each other, both are very good actresses, both are very strong, but you got to dig the whole cult thing, and you got to dig the whole psychology thing if you're going to have a good time with this one.
And the actress playing next to her is actually Eli Roth's wife.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
She was in Knock Knock and Green Inferno.
That's really fucking cool. Yeah, she's really good in this as well too. They're both good. They're both good actresses. So if you're interested, this is available on iTunes, Google, Amazon, Cineplex in Canada, and YouTube. And I would say if you like cult films, it's worth a rental. If you don't like cult films, I don't know if you need to run out and watch this one. It is very plot and dialogue heavy. But I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, because I got about halfway through it and need to finish it. I just got sidetracked, but I definitely enjoyed what I've watched so far.
Nice. Have you seen Dashcan?
No, this is one I'm curious about as well. I'm like, this one is one on my list.
This one was interesting. It wasn't what I thought it would be. It was definitely another film that was made during the pandemic. It's an 82-minute runtime. Video editor for a news show in New York City receives government files containing footage from a police car dash cam. I don't know if this is really horror as much as it's more drama and like action kind of mystery stuff. Basically, this guy sees something he's not supposed to see.
Okay.
And there's a conspiracy attached to it. So it is available on Vudu, Google Play, Cineplex, Amazon, Microsoft Store. I would say I probably wouldn't count this as a horror watch, but if you are into conspiracy theories and you kind of like, Darren might really enjoy this one, actually. Darren Wilson, again, from the Psychosomatic podcast, I think he would like this film. He might even want to cover it. But I don't think it falls in the horror category, but it is interesting. Nice. But you do have to like conspiracy stuff and buy into cover-ups and stuff, which I think in this film it totally was a cover-up. It's well done. The acting's decent enough for what it is.
Nice. Okay, this might be one I'll check out at some point then.
Yeah, but just it's not really horror. So
right
now you've seen this one, and I watched it just so we could have something to talk about.
Yep. So this is a Blumhouse film called Unhuman. And it's basically about a group of, I'm guessing, high school students. Yeah, it's high school students take a field trip. And on this field trip, the bus gets basically put on the side of the road and they get stranded. And something out there is trying to kill them. And it basically turns out to be like a typical run-of-the-mill style type of these films, with a twist that I actually did not see coming.
Yeah, me neither.
And when the twist happened, I was like, because at first I'm going, okay, this is your typical blah, blah, blah. It's fine. Then the twist happened and I'm going, all right, movie, you've got my attention. That's unique. Definitely has a very on your nose take on bullying.
Very, very good social commentary, actually.
Yeah, and just like what bullying can do to somebody. And I mean, obviously, it's got your typical teenager type Bloomhouse characters. So
Yeah.
it's if you're into Bloomhouse, this is definitely a recommend. If you're the type that's like, oh, Bloomhouse just does shit, blah blah blah, then don't bother because I don't want to hear it. This is just
Yeah. Thank
like
you, Scott.
because I honestly like Bloomhouse. They make teen horror films.
They do.
And I mean, obviously, they do some more adult themed ones as well. But their main focus is to pull teenagers into theaters or to get teenagers to watch them. It is, it's decent for what it was. It's not awful. It's some of the characters get on my nerves, but that's your typical movies like this with these type of tropes.
Yeah.
But I definitely say it's at least worth like a $2.99 rental.
I agree. I had a fun time with this film. Like, I thought this was better than There's Someone in Your House last year. And I liked There's Someone in Your House, by the way. I thought that was fine on Netflix, that one that came out. And I enjoyed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, whatever the fuck it was, earlier this year. Like, I don't know, like, I get really tired of generations shitting on other generations. I really do. It's so fucking old. Yeah, these kids are representing this generation. Fucking get over it.
Right.
Like, stop being such a dick. Like, honestly, like, there's nothing wrong with how these kids behave. They're behaving on how this generation behaves, and just because it's different from you doesn't mean it's wrong.
Right.
It's just different. So yeah, I agree with you. It's fluffy. Like, it's brain candy. This is another brain candy film, right? Like, you're not gonna go into this film and be like, oh man, like, where's the deep meaning behind Unhuman? Like, yeah, it's talking about bullying and it's giving some overall, like, themes about how it can really fuck people up and, really cause damage, which is, we all know. No one's gonna walk out of this film and be like, oh shit, bullying can cause like damage as an adult. Yeah, because you grew up and you bully kids and people that like Blumhouse films.
And you become cops.
Oh man! So every time you make that joke, I'm like, whoa. I think in the States, well, yeah, in the States, you guys have a much different process to become a police officer than you do in Canada. It's a little more streamlined here.
Yeah.
There's a little more checks and balances that, isn't like, oh, hey, you're my brother, you get to be sheriff.
Right. Pretty much.
Right. So, but anyway, back to this movie. It's fine for what it is. I don't know. You want an 87-minute runtime that gets to the plot quickly. A lot of action. Go. Some characters, some good little fight scenes, some really great special effects, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's your movie. You want a little bit of like social commentary that's not over the top? It's your movie. It's fun.
Yeah, I'll say it's
a fun film.
It's an easy watch, and yeah, like if you're just looking to add something to your 2022 list, why not?
I don't know. I have a soft spot for these teenage films. I think they're great. I think if I want, like, it's like Shark Bait. If I want to watch something that is not super serious and I just want to be entertained, like, not everything has to be fucking Saint Maud. Okay, like, not everything has to bum the fuck out of you like Midsommar. Like, not everything has to be depressing. As much as I love Rent-A-Pal, Rent-A-Pal isn't a good fucking feel good film. I'm not going to be like, oh man, you know what? I really need me some Rent-A-Pal today so I can watch someone's life become unhinged. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is just a fluffy, fun movie where, things are relatively okay at the end. And great. Sometimes that's what you need. So, yeah, I agree with you, Scotty. I think if you enjoy Blumhouse, I would say you could spend a little bit more on it, but $2.99, $3.99, $4.99 rental, depending on what your preference is. And it's available on iTunes, Vudu, Amazon, Cineplex, and Microsoft Store. So that concludes our 2022 watch list. Check out ones that you think are great. Don't check them out if you're not interested. That's okay. Everyone has their own preference and ones that you enjoy, and we're giving you some variety to check out as we always try to, or I have. And Scott watched 4 movies.
And hey, I'll be trying to hit up more as this next episode within the next episode. I will try to hit up more to bring to the table. Like, it may be a bunch of stuff you've already brought up, so I may not bring it to the episode unless it's just something I have to like give my opinion on.
Well, but you see my face right now. I'm like, nah, Scott. Nah.
I will do my best.
And that's all I can expect of you, Scott.
And sometimes the best isn't good enough.
That's right. But Banny's best was good enough when she beat you at air hockey. Not all heroes wear capes. Some of them beat people at air hockey. So if are we moving on to older watches then?
Yep.
So I watched The Carnival of Souls, which is a older film. Have you
1962,
seen
not the remake.
Oh no, not the remake, the original. Oh, there's a remake?
Yeah, I think it was I want to say Wes Craven remade it in the 90s or something, or 2000s. I'm not sure, but I think there was a remake of it.
You mean that wasn't Campfire Tales, which is almost the same fucking concept?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Campfire Tales and Carnival Cells are very similar concepts.
Gotcha.
Yeah, in my opinion, I can see where Campfire Tales got its inspiration from.
Ah,
Yeah, good movie. It's a 78-minute runtime, made in 1962, so it has all the 1960s stuff that comes with it. A woman is a sole survivor of a fatal car accident through mysterious circumstances, and she takes a fresh job somewhere else, but is constantly interrupted and is drawn to a strange carnival that continues to pass through every town she's in. Good film. Good film. I definitely recommend people checking it out. I'm trying to watch more older films, and this was my dive in. At a 78-minute runtime, I don't think you'll be disappointed. You can find it on the Shutter. It is available on Cultplex, Google Play, and Amazon. So if you're interested,
nice.
take a look for it.
Yep, this is one I've always been curious about, but just never got around to it yet.
Yeah, it's good.
Nice. I'll have to try checking it out at some point. The one I'm bringing to the table is thanks to the found footage phenomenon, and that is, it was brought up on that documentary, and that is called Frankenstein's Army from 2013. And it's basically a story about these Russian soldiers during World War II that are, it's like a team of these guys trying to find their lost squad that is like disappeared and like lost trace, like no one's been able to contact them. They don't know where they're at exactly. So they start just kind of like trying to like find their men. And so they start going through this village and come across these weird half machine, half human hybrid creations that are just like running amok and trying to kill things. And they find out there is a doctor that has been experimenting on all these soldiers, whether they're dead or alive. And it's a very interesting mix of almost like steampunk body horror, because some of these creations are freaking disturbing and scary, and
nice.
Some really cool special effects were done in this, and it's done in a found footage style because they have a guy that's like documenting everything as it's going along. And yeah, very, very interesting. I really dug the hell out of this. Some good gore, just some amazing practical effects with these body horror monsters that are coming around, like that are creations, because there is a variety of them. And it's a very, very unique, interesting story. Highly recommend this one.
Awesome. I'm impressed that you watched something old finally. No, I didn't mean it like that. This has been a long time.
It has.
Like, and that's when Friday Nightmares fell apart. They didn't make it to episode 69 like both of them had dreamed of. Right?
It is a shame.
It is a shame. So those are our older watches, and thank you, Scott, for actually contributing.
You're welcome, smartass.
You're welcome. What I'm going to talk about briefly is I'm not sure if you know, Scott, but I went to Europe.
No. No, you did? No.
So Scott just got right up close to the camera, like we're fucking filming Blair Witch 2. Oh man,
I'm so scared right now.
It looks really funny with his hat backwards too. It looks great. I feel like we just went back to a Clerks film. Calm down, okay?
And today was supposed to be my day off.
So when I was in England,
Wait, you were in England?
I haven't talked about it enough, Scotty. It was funny yesterday at the campground. Once in a while, I turn to Anna and go, "Hey, did you know that I went to Europe?" Like, be quiet, I'd be like, "Hey, do you know I went to Europe?" Like those annoying people that all they want to do is talk about the trip. But this was actually something cool. So anyway, I went to Newcastle Castle, the castle in Newcastle, but it's actually called Newcastle Castle.
Question: was it a new castle?
I think it was not. I'm like, oh, it's also called the Castle Keep by the locals because I have friends in Newcastle.
Wait, so a castle is the castle keeper of all castles?
Oh, look, D&D. Calm your fucking shit, okay?
Hey, I'm just playing you for once. You always interrupt me and say some
I know.
side comment.
It is funny, though. Man, I am funny. Oh man, great.
Debatable.
Well, this castle had a moat.
Ooh, I like moats.
See, that got you interested. So it was a real castle, not like a fake one. Anyway, the reason why I'm telling the story is because my friend has done a talk there. And he took me to the room where he did the main talk. So there's like, and this is like definitely, you could tell where the chamber rooms used to be, very steep, narrow stairs. You had to kind of like duck to get into certain rooms because people were shorter then, right? This castle was built in I think the 600s and was used up to like, I don't know, as a castle till we'll say the 13 or 1400s. And there was one part where he showed me the big room where he did his talk in, which would have been like the main hall, I guess you could say, where kings and queens would sit and take court. But if you went up these little side stairs, you would see where the jail was. So where they would jail people. So as I was walking up the stairs, I felt like this heavy presence on my chest, like just no, and it wasn't me being touched by somebody, just so we're clear, Scott. It was.
You knew I was going there.
And I was like, I'm gonna have a good time in this castle. And I was like, oh man, this just seems creepy. So I walked up more and I could see where the prisoner was kept, like the area where it was, and they had their own separate like washroom area. But there was just this disturbing like feeling on the stairs. So anyway, I come back down and Mark says to me, he's like, oh, so what did you think? He's like, that's a pretty cool area up there. I'm like, yeah, it is. I'm like, yeah, it's really creepy on those stairs. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, on the stairs there. He's like, I gotta show you something. So he pulls out his phone, he goes to Facebook. He's like, so remember I told you I did this talk here? Well, my friend took a photograph of that area, and there was like an image of something there. And it was just like a light, and it was all this other stuff. And you can see this like ghostly image in this guy's photograph.
Interesting.
It was being taken in the same spot that I said that I felt some kind of presence. So I thought that was kind of cool. So we continued to explore around the castle, and it had these super long towers. So you would have to walk up these stairs, and as you're walking up, they would like leave encouraging signs like, be thankful you're not doing this in armor because it would be a lot harder. Knights did that during time. You only got so many steps to go. We went all the way up to the top of the castle. And then there was an additional tower that you could climb. And then you could see all over the land. So you could see, what they would have seen back in the day when they were watching people come towards the castle and they were trying to protect the area. So it was kind of cool to see this castle that was still existing and the ruins that came around it and just like the creepiness that was in there. And I asked the caretakers, and they said that they've had some creepy stuff happen in that building, and that walking around late at night is usually not something that any of them like to do.
I can imagine,
for obvious reasons, right? So I thought that was cool. I kind of talked about my ghost story in Ireland, but of course England has its same level of ghosts and creepiness as well too. And finally, as a side little note, I was on the same street where Jack the Ripper killed his victims in London. And there's a lot of folklore and stuff behind that as well. So those are my little adventures. And then Scott has a little adventure he wants to share as well.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's interesting, actually, even if I was making fun of you. But no, the little adventure I went on was also part of my Mackinac Island trip with Mandy. We were just kind of walking around, just looking at all the stores, and this is on our way back, heading towards the ferry. So we're like, all right, let's just kind of see what's out there and just look at everything. And I came across this place called the Orpheum Theater, which is also known as Mackinac Island Haunted Theater. And I'm going, wait, what's this? So I stopped and was reading the signs and everything like that. And it sounded like it was like a haunted house. I'm going, okay, now I'm curious. Is this like your typical haunted house with actors that are jumping out and scaring you? Or what type of haunted house is this?
Yeah.
So I went up and I talked to the guy at the booth that was selling the tickets. And I'm like, so what is this like? He's like, nope, there is no actors here. This is all animatronics. It's kind of old school and this and that. I'm going, all right, deal. This sounds pretty cool. So I bought tickets for Mandy and I, and we started going through it. And as soon as we walked around the corner, I thought it was hilarious. It went from, beautiful daylight. We turned around the corner, pitch black, where you can't see a damn thing.
Oh, I've been one of those. Yeah.
And I'm
nice.
like walking and I'm like trying to like just kind of guide myself by like this. Mandy is grabbing onto my shirt extremely tightly behind me. She's going, I swear to God, if there are any jump scare actors in this, I am going to kick your ass. So I was like, I'm just guiding us and walking. And then, like you come across, it kind of reminded me of the wax museum we went to where it's like some things were behind glass and lit up. But it reminded me of a mix of a wax museum with dark ride style animatronics.
Nice. So some stuff popped out at you.
Yeah, like some stuff would just kind of pop up out of coffins and everything was just like old school, reminded me of like 70s and 80s style animatronics. So it was all kind of extra creepy because they all look just a little not right. But yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
took
because they're old and like decayed, and then you're like, I this is how I die in this horror
right.
movie.
But
Yes.
like it was really freaking cool. Like there was a lot of really neat animatronics and some cheesy ones that just added to the whole thing. But yeah, the whole entire thing's in this pitch black. You're forced to go down this hallway, and then rooms would light up as you walk past them. So they had like a sensor, and when those rooms lit up, you'd see something in there. And I took a bunch of pictures, which I will make sure to share to our podcast page because you see them
Nice.
obviously because I
Oh
posted them on our
yeah.
main page. But yeah, it was
I
just
see everything, Scott.
I see it all. But no, it was hilarious because yeah, like whole entire time Mandy's just grabbing onto me, but like when it would light up and she'd start taking pictures, and then she'd grab onto me again when it get pitch black, and she's like, "I swear to
Aw.
God, something jumps out, I'm kicking your ass." And
It's so nice that she protected you.
she did,
Yeah.
because she knew I was scared.
Well, it's also that volunteer service she's doing. Right?
Exactly.
You can't have anything.
Well, and she didn't want to
happen
lose me in the crowd because then she might get in trouble for losing one of the special people.
Right. Yes, exactly. Right. Yeah,
So-
it's true.
But other like we were the only ones in there for the longest time. Like so we were taking our time, taking a bunch of pictures, and just kind of just enjoying like this experience because it wasn't very long. But like yeah, as long as you could take your time through it. Towards the end, we started hearing people screaming behind us, so we're like, "Oh, there's a group of people coming behind." So we had to move through it a little further, but or a little quicker. But yeah, all in all, I thought that was just really cool. I love these old school style, like animatronic style haunted houses. You don't see them very often anymore.
No, you don't.
So it's definitely like a touristy trap thing, but I think it was like $7.50 a ticket, so it wasn't even that bad. So I was like, yeah, this is totally worth it. It was just cool. Got a bunch of cool pictures from it.
You literally shouted out Wax Museum, Tourist Trap, like the two movies combined.
Oh, right.
Scott and Mandy are making a sequel as a found footage film.
Yes. It's not going to be very good, though, because I suck at making movies.
No, it's found footage. It doesn't have to be good.
That's true. Oh my God, what's going on? Oh my God, you see that?
You just have to keep giving the reason why you're filming. Be like, Mandy, we have to capture every single thing we do because Heather's mad that I don't watch horror movies. So I have to show her of all the other cool shit I do. And then it will just be me watching the found footage at the end. Like, okay, let's pitch this movie, Scott. Okay. It's me, like, I go out to your place, you and Mandy are missing. I'm like, I just wish I could find them. And then there's this video camera. Some reason you have this old school video camera. I don't know. You bought it at a pawn shop or something. And I'm like, okay, I need to watch it. And I have to like go and get like an adapter and somehow, and I hook it up to the computer. And I'm watching it, and I'm watching you like, oh my God, this is so cool. I just got this, and oh man, I'm gonna show Mandy. She's gonna think it's so fucking retro and shit, and blah 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 for our trip away to Mackinac again. Yeah, and like it's like you filming Tim and Veronica as you're about to leave, and then like you're filming it, you pick her up, and she's like, "Why do you got that camera?" And you're like, "Well, I just thought I filmed the trip because Heather says I don't watch any 2020 movies, and I want to show her why." And then like everything happens, and then the end is you losing it, and then if the camera faces back to me, and one single tear falls down.
Oh my
and
God.
I'm like, and I realize it's my fault because I harassed you about 2020 films, 2022 films, and I'm crying, and then all of a sudden you just see something come behind me and the camera cuts out.
Sold.
Fucking found but 2020 film of 2022.
Perfect. Love it.
It actually sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Doesn't sound bad at all, actually.
It sounds like every horror cliche you could possibly think of.
Oh, that's amazing.
Okay.
Oh, all right, you heard it here first. Someone steals this idea, we're suing.
Mandy, I'm sorry that you have to go missing too, but it kind of needs to happen for the plot line. They can find you eventually, but they're never going to find Scott.
Or the end scene, I become one of the animatronics.
Yeah, but that's true.
Like I have been basically taxidermied, and now I'm one of the animatronics.
It's you with your beard.
Yes.
It's like it drops down all the time. It's like floppy and it's everywhere.
Yep, got a triangle on my head. Got my
Right.
no shave beard.
But I totally like set up the whole you getting the retro camera, being annoying with Tim, saying to Mandy why you have to have it, she giving you shit about it. It'd be great. It'd be great. It'd be great. And you would document stupid shit that you do. If you actually had a video camera that you could operate with you everywhere, you probably would document everything.
Fuck yeah, I would.
You know what you like? Take pictures? Holy fuck. You would document. You are found footage waiting to happen, Scotty.
I am.
You
it's
are.
true.
You are found footage. You am the law. I am found footage.
Jesus Christ.
Scott's really pumped for this now. He's so excited.
Oh, I'm sold. This is gonna happen.
Exploding Heads is supposed to make a movie. Fuck that. Friday Nightmares is coming with their It's shitty.
Fuck yeah, we are.
We don't have a Patreon. You know what I was thinking about? All the better podcasts that we shout out all the time, like the Exploding Head movies, the Exploding Head horror movie podcast, the Horror Returns, Horror for Dummies. They all have fucking Patreons. They all do.
Yeah.
We don't. See, here's the thing, Scott, and I don't think anyone will pay.
Well, and I just don't want to do extra work for Patreon.
Barely do work for now.
Right?
Barely do work for now. So, but anyway, we will take a break and we will be back. And we're going to talk about some German horror.
Hell yeah,
and
we are.
We're not talking about Scott's preference of pornography. We're going to be talking about horror movies. So after these messages, we'll be right back. Oh.
Hello?
Hello, who is this?
Who are you trying to reach?
I don't know.
Oh, I think you've got the wrong number.
Do I?
I'm gonna hang up.
Wait, don't hang up. What's that noise?
Popcorn?
You're making popcorn?
Uh-huh.
I only eat popcorn when I listen to podcasts.
I'm about to listen to a podcast.
Oh, really? Which one?
Probably the podcast on Haunted Hill.
Is that the one with the two guys with the beards?
Yeah, Dan and Gav.
Dan and Gav. Yeah, that podcast was scary. I liked it.
Most episodes, they look at 2 different horror movies. Each episode, they look at A World of the Strange, where they look at weird things from around the world. Sometimes they even do special episodes where they look at different genres or directors' discographies and talk about them.
Do you have a boyfriend?
Maybe.
So where can I find the podcast on Haunted Hill?
Or you could go to legionpodcast.com, Facebook, Twitter, or just go into iTunes and search for the podcast on Haunted Hill. So, are you gonna ask me out?
And welcome back. Today, we are going to be talking about German horror. So this is going to be the language, not necessarily the country.
Right.
Because we do have some Austrian films. But the first film that we're going to talk about is we're going to go fucking old school.
Yeah, I think the oldest film we've ever talked about on our show so far.
Yeah. That we
100
reviewed.
years old.
So and look at us. You know, not all podcasts are as great as ours. Actually, most
They're better.
They're better. But let's bring in this first film, Scotty.
All right. So the first film we're going to talk about tonight is Nosferatu, which was released March 5th, 1922. In this highly influential silent horror film, the mysterious Count Orlok summons Thomas Hutter to his remote Transylvanian castle in the mountains. The eerie Orlok seeks to buy a house near Hutter and his wife, Ellen, and after Orlok reveals his vampire nature, Hutter struggles to escape the castle, knowing that Ellen is in grave danger. Meanwhile, Orlok's servant, Knock, prepares for his master to arrive at his new home.
First off, when you say Orlok, did you not think Orlick and you thought of Brandon the entire time?
Actually, before I met Brandon Orlick, I always when I hear Orlick, I always want to say Orlok.
I'll tell Brandon that later. Brandon Orlick from the
Brandon Orlok now.
He's Orlok. He's Orlok. Yeah. What did you think of this movie, Scott?
As everyone knows, I have not really dived into a ton of silent films. I think the only 2 I've ever seen before this were The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is also a German film, and then Haxen, which, who knows, maybe we'll cover that event at some point with another language as we move on. But
maybe.
I actually thought this was, especially, looking back at it being 1922, 100 years old, which is freaking crazy to think. This was very creepy, especially for its time. It's got a lot of creepy imagery to it that obviously has stood the test of time. And I've seen a lot of still images from this film used a lot, and I've seen obviously this film playing in background during other horror films. And there's a reason why this film was extremely influential, and I can see why. Yeah, it's slow at parts because it's obviously building up the story. It's definitely based off of Bram Stoker's Dracula novel. But when Count Orlok is full on creepy vampire, it is pretty damn creepy, especially for its time. I thought this was a very enjoyable watch altogether.
I agree with you. I think that this movie I have a friend that really likes these films, and I told him it was bad just to make him upset. Because I'm a bully and I bully everyone. But I'm gonna get my comeuppance one day when that found footage film comes out, and I cry, and then I get taken. But I do think, here's the thing with films like this: if we didn't have Nosferatu 1922, we wouldn't have the films we have today.
Yeah.
For the pure aspect of the editing that went into this and how challenging that must have been at the time.
Yeah.
To literally slice pieces of film together. The ability to communicate emotions without sound on the film.
Yeah.
And that you would just have some small writing sometimes to see, like, it wasn't even subtitled. It was just like a sheet that had some writing on it. And then you would just have to watch interactions to see how people were reacting to things. And I think that really says a lot about talent. And I think that is something that we have lost when we moved from the silent era to speaking films. Yep. Is that these actors had to portray emotions without saying a word. You had to tell a story with very minimal dialogue, and you relied a lot on music and the visuals at the time. And I think this film really emphasizes that. And I do agree, it is creepy, especially like where the gentleman, Thomas Hunter shows his picture of his wife, like, I guess the vampire or Count Orlok sees the picture of his wife and comments, "Your wife has a nice neck."
Yes.
Right? What a creepy thing. Or he thinks that he's been bitten by 2 mosquitoes, and he's writing to his wife about the mosquito bites that he got and how random they are. And, the state, blood is life, blood is life, blood is life. There's some really great iconic lines that come from this film, and great storytelling. You get some character development at the beginning of why we care about Thomas, and why we care about his wife, and why we're concerned of what's going to happen to her. We see why we dread Orlok, and we get why he's a creepy, fucking dude that you don't want to meet on a dark corner anywhere ever.
Right.
And I think with the makeup that was done at the time and everything else, the costume design, like, I don't think silent films will ever be my go-to. I don't necessarily enjoy films that are made in this era because I do like talking. I do like hearing the emotion. I'm, not from this time period, so I don't have the strongest appreciation for it. I know other people do, I just don't. But a lot of respect, and it really gives me a really good concept on how filmmaking has evolved and what they had to work with back then.
Agreed. Like I find the silent film era very fascinating just because, it is the history of film, and especially in horror, and like showing that, horror has been around a long fucking time and is not going to go anywhere. And like, no matter how many people treat the genre as a redheaded stepchild, it is like one of the things that has built studios up from the ground and made them what they are today. I mean, look at Universal Studios. Yeah, or actors, yeah.
Right?
Like, this is like, and it's cool to go back and see the history of all this. And I didn't mention it when I first gave my thoughts, but the score was amazing.
Incredible.
I mean, very creepy in moments. Like it, like this was just a really well done film. And I'm so glad that we decided to do this for this topic, because I was like, it's something I've always wanted to watch, but never had the motivation to. So I'm glad that like this forced me to watch it. And I'm glad it did.
And, I think where we look at Europe and Germany particularly, and we go through the other German films that we watched, this film doesn't really have a happy ending.
No.
Like it has a, like, I guess you could say quasi happy ending, but not really. And neither really did the rest of the films we watched either.
No.
Right? They really kind of left it like, well, things are okay, but they're not great.
Right.
Like, there's sometimes sacrifices made by characters, or other times the villain wins, or like Ellen, his wife, dies in this, and it's sad. Like, it's sad when she dies, and the grief that Thomas feels. And I think that to communicate that through film, especially silent film, is extremely talented. And also it kind of set the bridge for what German horror is. And what I do really appreciate about the German films that we've watched is that they don't shy away from making you uncomfortable with the ending. They don't shy away with making you upset. They don't shy away with not making everything okay. And I think that, we see that with some other genres as well. The French are known for that, so are the Spanish. Not so much the UK films. I found the UK films, generally speaking, could go back and forth on depending how they ended. But yeah, definitely with German horror, it's dark. And this film kind of shows how dark it was at the time.
Yeah. And I was saying, like, yeah, once again, 100-year-old film. It's pretty freaking dark.
It is, and it holds up today in terms of entertainment value. And I think you got like, can you imagine being in 1922 and going to the theater and watching this film?
Right.
Because really, it's a folklore of Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it's a folklore of vampires. And this is where folklores get their strength from, is when they're made into film, and more people can share in the story, because folklore grows from the story being told over and over and over again, and more of a belief and buy into it. Oh yeah, that's not real, or is it?
Right.
And I think this movie is a great example of the starting of that.
Oh, 100% agree. And this makes me want to watch the remake from the 70s. I think I think it was Werner Herzog directed it. I could be wrong on the director, but yeah, then there is also this I did watch, but Shadow of the Vampire, which was a interesting take on this story, because it was basically like, hey, we're gonna make a movie about Nosferatu, like a vampire. We're gonna get this guy that looks really creepy, and his name is Max Schreck. And Max Schreck's actually a real vampire, and like the story kind of plays out like that. It's very, very cool movie. And
I'll have to check that out.
Then also what's his name from Robert Eggers, director of The Witch, is lining up to do a Nosferatu remake.
Be interesting, because I think that people will get upset, well, maybe not, because he has a good palette and he has a good history, so people may tolerate that a little bit more. And it doesn't take away, again, just so everyone's clear, it doesn't take away from the 1922 movie, or 1922. Thank you. It doesn't take away from it. You can like a remake and the original. It's okay. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens from that. But I feel as though this set the stage for some of the darker films that were to come. Yeah. And one of them is one we're going to talk about right now, that received a remake that was scene per scene remake 10 years later, roughly, give or take.
Yep.
So yeah, Scotty, why don't you bring us in with the next one?
All right. So the next movie we're going to talk about is Funny Games, released May 14th, 1997. An idyllic lakeside vacation home is terrorized by Paul and Peter, a pair of deeply disturbed young men. When the fearful Anna is home alone, the two men drop by for a visit that quickly turns violent and terrifying. Husband George comes to her rescue, but Paul and Peter take the family hostage and subject them to nightmarish abuse and humiliation. From time to time, Paul talks to the film's audience, making it complicit in the horror. So I was introduced to this film by my good friend Randall many, many, many years ago. And it was one of those, like, I've only seen this version of the film twice now. Mm-hmm. I've seen it and it has stuck with me since. It is one of those films just like, damn, okay, this is messed up. The remake is exactly like what you said, a shot-for-shot remake starring Naomi Watts and I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, but another well-known actor. And it's also, not only is it a shot-for-shot remake, it is a shot-for-shot remake done by this director. So the director remade his film.
The ending is the same.
Yep.
Wow.
I think there was only one slight change in the remake where Naomi Watts grabs the gun from the guys and she shoots one of them and kills them. And during that scene, the I think his name was Paul, grabs a TV remote and goes, "No, this isn't supposed to happen," and hits rewind, and it rewinds the movie back before his brother gets shot, and then it's like replays, and then the rest of the movie plays out like this film.
Well, that happened in this film too, but it was.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, crap. Yeah, okay. For some reason it completely skipped my mind. Like, even though I just watched it, I was just like, it completely slipped my mind that happened in this too.
Well, because I remember you were the one that told me about this, because you talked about breaking the fourth wall.
Yes.
Right, and
how he looks at the audience quite often.
Yeah, and he looks at the audience and tries to make that connection and rewinding it and. You had warned me about this film. You had mentioned it a couple of times.
Because this was in my top 5 most uncomfortable films.
Yeah, and I can totally see why. I ended up not watching it that time. I'm glad I didn't, because eventually it all comes around. We end up watching films anyway. And this is a dark film. And you were right. The beginning part of it, where he comes in just asking for eggs so innocently, And even like the creepy part where how they set up their victims that you put together at the end is that they bring over whoever it is that they're currently terrorizing. You get that person to lie about how they know that individual. And then they come back later asking for eggs. Like it is a foolproof, and they're targeting rich homes.
Yep.
Homes with money.
Yeah, gated communities.
Gated communities. And you really don't get a rhyme or reason because you don't really necessarily believe anything they say.
Yeah.
You know, like
you don't know what their real names are. Like they've called each other Beavis and Butthead. They've called each other Tom and Jerry. Like they're constantly like telling different stories all the time.
Yeah. And like the one sleeps with his mom and all this other shit and like talks about traumatizing stuff. And the funny games like are ones that obviously they're torture games. They're like the concept of Saw, to be honest with you, right? Only there's no kind of reasoning behind it. It's just they're doing these horrible things. And you feel the uncomfortableness, not at first when he comes in to get the eggs, but when he drops the phone in the water, and then when
drops
he
the
drops
eggs again,
the eggs, and then the mom's getting frustrated, the husband comes home, and then things just turn, and the poor little kid that you think is going to get away, and he doesn't. And I do appreciate, you know, maybe a fault of criticism of this film could be a lot of violence is done off scene.
Right.
You don't see, for example, the dog get killed, but you know that the dog gets killed. You don't see the child get shot, but you know the child gets shot, and you see the aftermath of it, and you see the grieving, and that grieving scene of the mother was fucking haunting.
Yeah, that whole scene where it just like, if it wasn't for that TV playing in the background the whole time, you would think the movie froze up.
Yeah,
because it just sits there for what, good 4 minutes, and you're just watching where it's just silence, and that TV screen's just playing like the race in the background.
Yeah.
And it's just
and the commentary is reflective of what's going on. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're commentating, but you could see it playing out with what's happening. Like they're talking about a catastrophe that happened in the race, which is what you're seeing happen in, you know.
Like it's like they make sure to focus on this, and you are just witness to everything. And that is also why I like the breaking of the fourth wall, because this character is looking back at us as the audience going, well, you wanted to watch this. Here you are. Like it's pretty much making us complicit with what's going on screen.
Yeah.
And it's really a brilliant idea of how he did that. And like, and going back to the whole dropping of the eggs and everything, that is part of their game. They are purposely trying to be annoying and just just kind of push these people's buttons a little bit.
Yeah, but they're being annoying to a point that's not, but it's not to the point that you would kick someone out of your house.
Right,
what I really appreciate about this film is I hated these kids.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to show up and shoot them in the fucking head. Like I just was like, sorry to talk about guns, Scotty, but like it's fine. You know what I mean? Like it brought that anger out of me that I wanted vengeance for this family, because I'm like, they've done nothing wrong. I felt very similar with like Eden.
Yeah.
Or Eden Lake. And I think that this film, again, did it perfectly. These kids are just so evil and calm and manipulative, and they have a process that works every time. We see it work at the tail end with that first family. We see it in full focus with this middle family. And then at the end of it, we see they're going to a third family.
Mm-hmm. And it's the family that came across on the boat.
Yes.
They were talking to the mother of this family, and you can even see where he's plotting out his next plan, because he's like, oh, where do you live? Oh, we live right across the lake, right over there. And that's where he's like, yep, our next victim right there.
Right. And that's exactly what happened the first time when that other family saw. So then the family that's about to be killed is aware that they've set up new victims.
Yeah.
So now you know that you've set up new victims for these people to go kill. Like the psychology behind this film is fucking brilliant. And it takes the middle family as a family. Like you could do a prequel and you could do a sequel. Yeah. Mind you, it would probably be the same fucked up shit, unless in that third family, you know, one of them shows up and gets a gun and does something. Right. And these guys get their comeuppance, which everyone would love, because I don't think anyone would get behind these two kids. But that's also the sign of a great villain. These kids you hated them.
Yeah, these kids were awful.
Awful human beings. And the acting is believable. You believe that Anne is fearful, trying to protect her son, the son who gets upset when his dad is getting the shit kicked out of him, like it's a hard watch. You're right. It's an uncomfortable, hard watch. And, we go back to Nosferatu, which has an unhappy ending, which is sad, maybe uncomfortable at the time in 1922, but like sad, to this as a German film where it's just like, we're going to creep you out with something that could happen.
Yeah.
And you're going to have no fucking control. And guess what? There's no justice. There's none.
No, not a single bit of justice. And
you're going to watch this family get dragged out and killed slowly.
Yeah, and the messed up part is like this is happening in a place that you would think would be nice and safe because it's a gated community, and it's happening right in broad fucking daylight for the most of the film until it becomes night, obviously. But like most of this shit is happening during the daytime, and it is so just messed up because this could happen.
Absolutely, and I think that this film is a hard ride. Like it reminds me a lot of how I felt during Martyrs. It's just a hard grind. And you're sitting through this film and you're like, fuck, this is emotional. Fuck, this is, this is hard. It's not a film that I'd be like, oh man, you know what? I feel like sitting down and relaxing and watching fun games today. I would recommend it to people as a film that I think will challenge your perceptions of torture. And if you want to see some exceptional acting, good script writing, excellent filming, like when they film back and film that TV scene, like it really does give you that sense as an audience that you're being an accessory.
Yes.
Through your viewership, right? I think that that's fucking brilliant, but it's not a film that's for me rewatchable. Not because it's not good. It's fucking up there. It's one of probably the better horror films I've ever seen. It's just heavy.
Yeah, it's very heavy. Like I've seen, like, if you count this in the remake, I have now seen this a total of 4 times. That's because obviously once was the original introduced to me, then I found the remake at one of the disc replays here, and it was for like $2. I was like, oh, screw it, I'll buy it and I'll watch the remake, see if there is any difference. Yeah. And there really wasn't. And then I rewatched the remake for prep for our show for when we did the top 5 most uncomfortable films, because I didn't know if there was any access to the original yet. And then once we decided to do this topic, I was like, fuck it, let's do the original again, because I hadn't seen it since like when I first got introduced to it. So I've seen it 4 times. I'm sure I'll watch it a few more times through my life, but it's not like I gotta rewatch this every year, because no, it is fucking heavy, but it's just a good film.
I won't rewatch this again until I need to for a podcast, and it's not because it's not a good film.
Right.
If anything, that means it's a good fucking horror film.
Right.
Like, unless I'm like something like Serbian film where I'm like, I don't need to watch it because I don't think it's that shocking. Like, this is way more fucking shocking than Serbian film is, all right? Like, Serbian film is shocking because it's like, ooh, pornography. Ooh, look at how dark it is. Ooh, look at us. Like, this movie is more like, you want to be fucking uncomfortable. These guys plot each kill and have each family help them to kill their next one as they're torturing them.
Right.
And they come across so subtly and so unintrusive and so trusting, and they set it up each time that it's almost impossible to stop it. Now, obviously, like we're foregoing fingerprints and all that shit you do in every horror movie that you just kind of go,
Well, to be fair, they were wearing gloves the whole time.
That is true.
Because he even said that he had what was it like that I can't remember the name, but he had like the disease when it's like acne all over your body.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He, like, that was his reasoning for wearing gloves, is why. But no, he was just doing it because he didn't want fingerprints behind.
Right. He definitely, like, and these guys you just hate. And you're right. The ending scene where he looks at the camera and that hard fucking metal music. Like, let's talk about the fucking metal music that comes in at this film. It happens at the beginning randomly, scared the fuck out of me when it started playing. And then it happens at the end. And I think that music was put in perfectly. Like, this director knew what he was doing when he made this film.
Yeah.
For everything from the music to the setting to the acting to the way he had the scene set up to the filming. Like, incredible. Just incredible.
Yeah, because it's especially when he set it up in the beginning, because in the beginning they're like playing classical music while they're driving and trying to guess the composer and this and that, like playing a little family game while they're on the road trip.
Like, very upper class.
Yeah, very hoity-toity type people. And then like right when the title card comes across the screen, it turns into this fucking like screamy death metal, like banshee wailing, just obnoxious and grating to the ears sound. And it's basically like, yep, so here's what we're presenting on screen. Beautiful, serene, but this is the meat of the movie. Destruction and horror, and it's like, this is gonna make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, heavy fucking film.
Yeah, but I'm glad that I got you to watch this, because I knew this would be one that you'd probably just not want to watch because of me talking about how heavy it is. So I'm glad that we decided to do it for this podcast.
Me too. And it, again, it expands your understanding of different horror that's out there. And this would be hard to take for some people. Like, I'm definitely going to give a trigger warning here. Like, this film is not easy to watch. So, take care. And if it's something that doesn't sound like it's for you, it's okay. It doesn't make you less of a fucking horror fan because you don't want to watch Funny Games or Serbian Film or Martyrs or Solo or I don't know, some of the other fucking heavy shit we've watched. I can't think of anything else at the moment. We watched a lot of heavy stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you less of a horror fan because you don't want to, or Cannibal Holocaust. It doesn't make you less of a horror fan because you don't want to watch that shit. Like it's or Inside. There's a lot of real like dark fucking films that are out there, and this is one of them. It's a really dark film. But well done. If you can handle that and you're interested in the whole breaking of the fourth wall and really good acting, really good writing, this film's for you for sure. And another film that I thought was actually quite good and did a concept really well, even though this concept's been done to death now. I got to remember this was back in 2014, so it was a little fresh. And I'll let you bring in this one, Scotty.
All right, so the next movie we are going to talk about is Goodnight, Mommy, which was released January 15th, 2014. Twin boys who do everything together, from collecting beetles to feeding stray cats, welcome their mother home after her reconstructive surgery. But with her face wrapped in bandages and her demeanor distant, they grow suspicious of her identity. So yeah, this is the second time watch for me. I watched this for the Horror Drunks podcast way back in the day, and I was very intrigued by this because like I said, like this has been done before, and even during this time it's been done before, but it wasn't as often. But and it caught me completely off guard. Now rewatching it, I was like, okay, they make some very obvious like signs that this is what's happening. We'll get into that as we get into the more of the movie. But these boys look like twins. And I think they might have been twins in real life because they look identical.
They are. I checked out the actors.
Okay, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the synopsis says, they do everything together, and yeah, their mother is all wrapped up because she did have reconstructive surgery on her face because you find out later she is a game show host, and like she did some reconstructive surgery because of course when you're on TV, you're encouraged to look prettier and more blah blah blah, have surgeries done to like be able to get more gigs or to keep your career going, or if you're getting older, to continue to stay young so you'll still have your gig. And I think that's what was going on here, is that, as she's getting older, like she needed the surgery to make herself still look young. But yeah, her kids just don't seem to think that she's really who she is because they can't see her face, and she does act kind of mean at times, which I think is just from the pain and irritation of the children just acting up because they are young boys. And of course, boys, as we all know, boys can be a handful at that age.
Yeah.
Where little girls don't seem to be nearly as much of a handful at that age compared to boys.
The only question I had is who took care of the kid while she was gone in surgery?
That is a good question.
Like,
they don't
I guess
really.
I thought a big part of the plot, but I thought that was weird.
Yeah, like he did bring up his dad, so maybe he stayed with his dad.
I guess.
Like I wasn't too sure on that one.
Right? Because I watched this movie fully through till the twist. And then I went back and watched it up to that point again.
Oh, did you? Okay.
And I read the Wikipedia because I was like, what? Because there was a scene that happens that I didn't put together that's what was happening. So before I continue, was there anything you wanted to add for your initial thoughts before I come back with my questions?
No.
And hopefully you can okay. So we're going to give some spoilers here. We typically spoil in this area. Obviously, we spoiled Funny Games, but that came out in 1997, and Nosferatu came out 100 years ago. So, spoiling those movies aren't as intense, but I just want to say I'm going to spoil Goodnight, Mommy now with the twist. So if for some reason you haven't watched it, please move on ahead. So it presents that two twins are there, but one is actually dead. Yeah. And the one is hallucinating that his brother is there. Now, I read on Wikipedia that the opening scene of them going swimming where his brother holds his breath underwater is where the death occurred. That's how his brother actually died. Not in that scene necessarily, but that's what happened. And that's why the mom's like, it's not your fault.
Oh.
Right? Because they had gone swimming, and because in the opening scene, you see these two twin boys go swimming, and like typical kids, the one's holding his breath underwater, but he doesn't come up for a really, really long time. But in reality, that's how his brother died. And the twin blamed himself for his brother dying.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, well, that's what it said on Wikipedia. I don't know. Like, I'm just reading, like, because I was kind of like, how did I miss this? Like,
Right.
how did I not put together that there's only one kid? Now, it makes sense with a lot of things that she does, like just speaking to the one, punishing the one,
Always offering food to the one and not the other.
yeah, right? Like and then, you find out when she's being tortured, she's like, I'll go back to offering food. Because you realize when the one remaining boy is convinced that it's not his mother, and he tortures her.
Yeah, in
Which is
horrible
kind
ways.
of like, you got to kind of suspend disbelief that this kid could, like, if there's two of them, I could see them outpowering her. But I guess she's weak from surgery and stuff too, right? So yeah. Anyway, it's not a bad film. I'm not trying to poke holes in the plot. Like,
no, it's just a good thing to bring up.
I was just kind of confused, but yeah, if you're right, Scott, when you go back and you watch it knowing the twist, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, this is the things that she's doing. But the first time you watch it, it does do a good job of kind of making you think either these boys are acting out because they're upset, or there is something here with their mom.
Yeah, because like even the movie tries to fool you with the mom when she goes out into the woods and she just undresses, and then all of a sudden, like, her head just starts doing that spasmy weird thing.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that is a nightmare that the boy had. Yeah. But at the same time, it makes you go, wait a minute, is she not really who she says she is?
Right. Yeah. It was interesting.
Yeah, like, it definitely keeps you guessing for a long time. Like, okay, because like, I think what the movie does great is, like, obviously it gives you hints that one of them is not really there. But if you're the first time watching it, I think because the hints are pretty damn obvious when you go back and rewatch it. But I think what detracts, like, what helps is this movie makes you think that the mother is not really the mother the whole time, that you don't realize that the boy is not really there. I think it's a kind of a good way to sidetrack you and distract you from that.
And you know what I think is really interesting too, Scott, is you probably saw A Beautiful Mind, right?
Yep.
And you saw recently the movie The Twin on Shudder. So we may give a spoiler here.
No, I have not seen The Twin yet.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
That is one, because that was also one I need to watch still.
Okay, we'll go with A Beautiful Mind then. And our other films where there's a hallucination. Do you ever find that when the hallucination, like when someone challenges it and goes, no, Scott, like let's say Scott was hallucinating that there was, I don't know, he had a twin. And I was like, no, Scott, the twin's not real. Like, and Scott finally starts to believe me. The hallucination gets upset.
Yeah.
Because that happened in A Beautiful Mind.
Mm-hmm.
That happened in this movie, right? Where the hallucination becomes angry.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not true. They're lying. Don't listen to them. It's really an interesting take on the power of mental illness.
It really
that
is.
Your brain can manipulate itself to believe that now what you are believing has been your friend is angry and doesn't want you to believe that they don't exist. And I think that has to do with your brain, and it almost separates it. It almost makes it like, well, maybe it is real, because why would my brain trick me? But really, if we think about the brain pattern, of course, it wants to protect itself and protect the image that it has. So of course, if you don't want that image to be fake, you're going to have that it's arguing like, oh no, I am real. I am real. I am here. I don't abandon me. Don't give up these thoughts. I just think that's really interesting, because I've noticed that in a lot of, because it's been a theme of like, all they never existed in the first place. Like the hallucinations tend to get angry. And I find that fascinating.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think it's become way more prevalent over the last couple of years, because like we've had a lot of these films over the last couple of years, so like it's become way more noticeable. And your brain is a very powerful tool.
It really is, right? And I think that this film really did, emphasize the trauma that comes with death and grieving, and how both the mom and the son, like, she wanted to move on because of the pain of losing the other twin, and then the constant reminder of the one twin that's left, and and the guilt and everything else, and then torturing his mom as she wets the bed, and the fucking fire that he starts and she burns to death. Like the when the Red Cross workers come and she's being tortured upstairs, that is like the anxiety in that is crazy. Like, it's crazy, crazy stressful.
And the only issue I have with this film, because it's not like this was the 90s or the 80s, it was 2014. If you if your family suffered a loss, such as a twin boy like that, and you see that your surviving son is pretending like the other one is still there, wouldn't you be trying to seek some type of trauma therapy for the child or something
Yeah.
to, because that would be deeply concerning to me as a parent, seeing that my son is talking to my dead son that is not there anymore and pretending he's still
Yeah.
alive. I would be deeply concerned.
I
But
100% agree with you, Scott. But it's the same thing with me. Like, who took care of these fucking kids? Or this kid? Well, they were gone, and it's horror movie logic.
right,
You
and
know,
plus you could also probably toss it up to the fact that she's too focused on her career to pay much attention to her son, because obviously she's getting the facial
grieving
reconstruction.
herself. Yeah, or grieving herself, and she's trying to process that one kid is dead. And but I think we're pointing out some good plot holes, but horror movie logic, right? We
Right,
kind of
exactly.
just forgive it. And
It's not something that
valid
detracts
point.
from the movie, but it's something
No.
that I just wanted to point out.
But the moment you do a movie like this, the moment you do a movie where it's a hallucination and it's mental illness, you kind of have to check out logic, because
absolutely.
If Scott, you started talking to someone who wasn't there, I would probably, I am friends with your mom on Facebook. I'd probably be reaching out to your mom and saying, hey, like, I'm concerned. This is something that Scott's been doing. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, Scott, let me talk to your hallucination as well. Like, I
Right.
would, I might humor you to kind of just keep you calm and keep you talking to me, but I would be reaching out to your mom, for example. Like, and I'm sure you would do the same with me. You're friends with my dad on Facebook. If I was talking to someone that wasn't there all the time, or you would talk to George, or you would talk to Anne, or you talk to Amber, like, you would reach out to someone who knows me and be like, look, Heather's doing these things. I'm really concerned. Like, that's normal, what normal people would do. They wouldn't be like, oh no, that's fine, and just like let me do whatever I'm doing, right? So I agree with you. But I will say the twist got me off guard. And then when they're all together at the end, which I simulate they all died, the boy and her, and then the original twin as well, and they're all three of them are together and they're singing the song that we sang at the beginning.
I picture the one boy still surviving, and since he imagined his brother, I think he imagined his mother back to the way she was too, and then just imagined this happy family.
So there's the three of them together.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, because they do stare at the camera uncomfortably. This was another film that had a lot of uncomfortable camera stares. You saw it in Nosferatu with the vampire Count Orlok. I said Orlok. And you saw it in Funny Games, and then you saw it again in Goodnight Mommy. There was some fucking that awkward, like, at the end I was like they're still staring. I'm like, why are they still staring?
Right, just hauntingly staring there.
Right. When someone just stares into the camera like that, it is haunting. Just so we're clear, like, it's it's creepy. Okay, but we're talking right now, so it's not that weird. Scotty has his face right up to the camera and is trying to scare me, and it works, so we're not doing the rest of this podcast. But yeah, good movie. I recommend it to people. I think it's, yet again, not a happy ending at all. Unless you consider him having these hallucinations a happy ending. Not a happy ending at all. Very traumatic. But very well filmed, very well done. Just not as good as Funny Games. I found more issues with this one than I found in Funny Games.
Right. And also, I guess this is getting a American remake treatment at some point.
Oh, interesting.
It's been on the docket for a while.
That will be definitely different. Not like this one, I don't think. Or maybe it will be. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Who knows? Maybe it'll be a shot for shot.
Maybe, right? But
you never know.
Right, you never know. All right, our final one, which is just a random one we found on Shudder that was available and had a high rating. So
and I was impressed by it. So the next movie on our the final movie for our topic is Cold Hell, released January 17th, 2017. Azga is a young Turkish-born taxi driver who attends evening classes and is also an ambitious kickboxer. Because she even rectifies that when the guy says Thai boxer.
Yeah.
She rarely speaks, but trains hard. One day, she witnesses an extremely brutal murder. Very weird synopsis there. But basically, she witnesses a murder and realizes that the murderer is staring right back at her and notices her. And so then the hunt is on, and she is worried and concerned about her safety for a good reason. This plays out kind of like a modern day detective noir story.
It is.
It's not really horror, it's more of a thriller, but it's got like very violent scenes to it, so it fits. It fits well in the horror genre as well.
Hey, and Shudder picked it up, so
exactly.
Shudder, it's horror enough for Shudder.
Right, exactly. But I found the character of Ozga, or however you pronounce her name, very like she's very cold at first, and but then when you start peeling back the layers of her, she is a very complex character, but a strong fucking woman.
Yeah. And there's complex of like abuse that happened in her life, sexual abuse by her father, and why she doesn't want to leave. So her friend gets killed and murdered, and she ends up taking custody of the kid. And I think is her sister that gets killed?
Yes, it's her sister that gets killed, and it's like a legal custody because she basically kidnaps the child.
Basically kidnaps the child after like she kind of gets thrown her because her sister's slaughtered in this apartment.
Yep, and the reason she kidnaps the child though is because she found out that it was going to go to her parents, who was the one that abused her when she was young.
Yeah, so and she doesn't want that to obviously happen. She witnesses this murder of a prostitute. Like there's a lot of like subtle shit that talks about in this movie. You're talking about sexual abuse, prostitution, and how prostitutes are treated, and her trying to kind of figure it out. She knows who the person is, and of course the person is a high-end businessman who ends up being the murderer. And it's actually a really good cat and mouse movie of her trying to bring him to justice before he does it again, while trying to protect her niece. And there's a romance in this that I actually rather liked.
So did I.
I'll be honest. I was kind of rooting for them. I was like, I really, she gets involved with the lead detective, who seems to be the only person who gives a shit about the situation. And he has a dad that has Alzheimer's, who actually plays, and like there's a lot of social shit in this movie. There's like Alzheimer's, there was sexual abuse, there's prostitution, racism. There's comments about her being Turkish from the German police. Like it's fucking heavy, this movie. Like it's not your average, like, I don't know, like I wonder if Cold Hell was a name for like the reality of what some of the people live in. Like it was just really, really every social issue you can think of, but not overly like in your face. Like it all made sense. You're like, yeah, this would probably happen. Yeah, she's Turkish.
Yep.
Yeah, she's probably gonna get racism. Yeah.
Yep, and they're not believing her about a lot of the stuff because she's a woman and she's Turkish in Germany.
Like, right. Like it was very
it's very misogynistic.
Yeah. And then you get this lead detective. And actually my favorite scene in this movie is not even a horror scene. There's a part where the lead detective and I guess his partner go to the guy. They confront the murderer, and he's refusing to speak German. He's only speaking in English, and they're trying to communicate through English, and they're really struggling. Now, the only thing I wouldn't buy that neither one of them would have English. Like I met two people from Germany actually when I was away, and I had drinks with them, and I asked them, would I have a problem going to Germany? And they're like, most people speak English. They have to. It's the business language. They're like, now if you went to a small town in the middle of nowhere, countryside, they're like, yeah, maybe. There you would have only people that spoke German, but they're like, you go to any major city. So that was the only thing that I was like, all right, I know that these guys will probably speak better English than what they were speaking, right, because it is such a business language. But that's neither here nor there. That was meant for the plot development.
But and then when you're talking about high business exec, he worked for the UN. This guy did.
Yeah. Like
that's where they're at to confront him. Yeah.
Right. And my favorite is the lead detective calls her and FaceTimes her and switches her around and goes, is this the guy? He's like freaking out, like, get out of my office. And he's like, is this the guy? And she's like, yes. And that's when he slices the throat of the other detective.
Yeah.
And it just goes from fucking 0 to 100.
And now... And that killer does it smart. He not only fucking kills that detective to distract the other detective, he also steals the main detective's phone, which he just contacted Ozga from. So now he has a way of finding her.
Right. And then it becomes a cat and mouse game of her and like trying to survive when he gets there and trying to protect her niece and the detective's father because she's staying with the detective. And the torture scene is fucking intense. Like and you think the detective's going to make it there and he doesn't on time. Like she ends up, was it that he burned her? Yeah, he like dumped like kerosene or something like it on her and he threw a match on her and she lit on fire, but like she was smart and was doing the rolling back and forth, but obviously with kerosene it takes way longer to put it out because it's a liquid that's got to burn off first, and it showed like the damage it did to her. Like she didn't get away from that unscathed, and it was fucking intense. And shit, I want to bring up the first true encounter with them when she ends up being the taxi driver and he's in the back seat. Oh man, my God, that scene was intense because this woman, for one, fucking kicks ass. She is a badass. Yeah, she doesn't fuck around.
And this whole entire time, she's like fucking got the foot to the floor with the taxi and just like slamming into things to kind of dislodge him. and he's
Yeah.
slicing at her, and she's kicking the shit out of him while she's still trying to drive. And it is brutal what they're putting themselves
yeah.
through. And like, she comes out of that just like sliced up horribly, and like he's all fucked up because like just got getting slammed back and forth between cars and just getting the shit kicked out of him by her because she was overpowering him like in physical combat. Like she was just kicking the fuck out of him.
Yeah. And that's where we see how shitty the police are, because they're all like treating her like garbage, except for the lead detective guy. Right. Yeah.
Like, and but that's one thing I liked about this is it starts off as like, you know, like one form of cat and mouse, but then the protagonist also plays a cat and mouse game with him and hunts his ass down and beats his ass, and like it's constantly them going back and forth with each other. And like,
oh yeah, it's great. It's really great. I think so how this movie ends is like, mwah. She basically kicks the living fuck out of him and manages to get downstairs. She's fucking injured, throws him in the trunk of a car, sees an old woman, tells her to go upstairs and check on the man with Alzheimer's, the detective's father, and her niece. And she takes this fucking car and she fucking goes, I don't know how fast, we'll say over 100 miles an hour, into a fucking wall.
Yeah, just slams it in reverse because she has him in the trunk, and you can see him starting to get out of the trunk like through the back seat, and he's like talking about, I'm gonna fucking kill you, and she just fucking puts it in reverse and just fucking guns it, and you can see he's freaking out because he knows what's about to happen, and just fucking crushes him. Oh,
right. And then you do have the scene, like, I'll be honest, I was like, I didn't want her to die.
Right.
Like, I was like, why is the detective not there yet? And the thing is that I really appreciate about this because I wanted the two of them to be together. Like, I thought their love story was subtle, but yet you're like, I could see why there would be some attraction building between the two of them. And even like there are kind of like awkwardness, but cuteness in the next morning, like the morning after, like the first interaction with somebody. Like, it was actually pretty accurate. Like, I was kind of like, this is not a bad film. Like, this is a really good film. Anyway, he pulls her out of the car, but you really don't know if she's going to survive or not because she's got the fucking shit kicked out of her and she's been in a massive car accident. And this is where you kind of get a quasi good ending. This is probably the only movie where there's, well, this is Nosferatu. Like, it's kind of good because she may have survived, but you don't really know if she's going to make it because he keeps just saying to her, hang on. But you don't really know if she is. And they never give you the closure of whether she did or not.
Right.
Good movie. It's a little hidden gem on Shudder. It's a good thriller mixed with some horror stuff, mixed with, you know, cat and mouse. It's entertaining. I recommend it to people.
Yeah, I found this to be very good and like a very strong woman-led film.
Very much so. And yet again, more of a happier ending, but
still not the happiest.
Not the happiest ending, but more than other ones. So that kind of leads us into the Out of the Dark, actually. Or Out of the Dark topic. So I asked Scott what we wanted to talk about, and I said, you know what would be interesting to discuss, and I kind of thought of it from Cold Hell and Funny Games, is do we prefer sole survivors, more than one survivor, or no survivors? So I guess this would be the case for like almost any horror movie where there's like a villain and a conflict or a virus or an outbreak. You know, what do we prefer? And what do you prefer, Scotty?
That one all depends on the genre, the subgenre in horror. So for slashers, I prefer solo survivors because usually the solo survivor in most slasher films is a strong, smart, resilient female who has outsmarted the killer and is finding ways to outrun and survive against this guy or woman or thing that has been stalking her and her friends. I like the concept of the final girl because it makes, you know, good, strong representation of women in power. As like say zombie type virus infection type movie, I like multiple survivors because, you know, this is just going to be something that's always going to happen. Like this is their life now. And I don't know why, just multiple survivors working as a team, because you kind of do have to work as a team when the whole world is fucked like this. So it gives you that teamwork thing. But no, I do also love the very bleak no survivors ending, because those movies I'll watch and go, bravo, you had the balls to do something that leaves you just gutted. Like Funny Games, like that, no survivors there. And it's just guts you. And same with Goodnight Mommy. Well, like, no, never mind. Goodnight Mommy does have the boy, but
he's the villain technically. So
right. But no, like it all really depends. But I think if I had to pick between the three, I do like the horror films that don't have any survivors, because it just shows
really
yes, because it shows that because, you know, it's always that typical fairy tale thing where it's like, oh yeah, someone's always going to win, the bad guy's going to be defeated. I like when that's turned on its head and the bad guy is not defeated and there is no one left alive, because it's just something that doesn't happen as often as the others.
Interesting. I am the opposite. I find the no survivor plotline depressing as fuck.
I think that's why I like it, because it's just like it just makes you feel.
I find movies like Funny Games where nobody makes it out and the killers go on. I feel like there's no justice. Probably another reason why I don't love Rob Zombie films. Because there's no survivors in House of a Thousand Corpses, or what's the second sequel to that one?
Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, it was like when the chick's running with the bunny rabbit outfit.
Yeah, in House of Thousand Corpses.
Oh my god, that makes me so angry. I get so upset during that scene. I hate it. I hate the torture that she's experiencing. And with Soul Survivors, I don't mind Soul Survivors if it's a situation where, like, let's think of a movie that a good Soul Survivor I do like. If it's like a shark film and like the one person makes it out because they were able to outsmart it. But I do prefer when it's more than one person. Like one of my favorite Nightmare on Elm Streets is where multiple people survive. 3,
true.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I love how they work together in Dream World to fight off Freddy Krueger. I enjoy in Friday the 13th Part 4 that Tommy and his sister work together to kill Jason. Or Part 5 when they attack Roy, right?
Right.
Like I do like how there's like a team. So it's interesting. But yeah, I hear what you're saying about the strong female survivor. But I remember when I saw Scream the first time, I was super happy that Randy and Neve Campbell's character, Sydney, and Courtney Cox survived.
Right.
And I guess technically Cotton Weary, but that's more of the second one. I did like that part of it. And I find that I do definitely like groups in zombie films, like Train to Busan. I was super upset when the dad died.
Yeah.
And like, you know, the soccer team.
Yeah.
For some reason, that soccer team really affected me when those young men died. I found that
because they were good people.
Yeah, right. And I think that that's definitely like why I felt sad. Yeah, it's interesting. It's such a concept, but I definitely don't love No Survivors. I don't like that. I don't like those films. It makes me sad. Like I'm so bummed out afterwards.
Yeah, like I think that's why, like, you know, Hereditary had such an effect on me too, because it's like at that end you're just going, yeah, there is no one left alive besides the cultists, and holy shit, is that heavy. Like same with
yeah.
Well, I mean, basically, same with The Mist. I mean, obviously, yes, the father is alive at the end, but he kills everybody off, and it just leaves you gutted. Like, fuck.
Like you're just absolutely appalled that all of that would happen, right? And I just, you know, Rent-A-Pal depressed me too. Now, mind you, the girlfriend lives.
Yeah.
But like his mom dies, he dies. Like it's fucking depressing. And I know a lot of people do love the non-survivor. I think Tim Davis likes that as well too. And I don't know what it is with me. It just makes me like, and I find like, it just makes me sad. If it's done right. Like I didn't care about Saint Maud, I'll be honest. When she burned herself, I was like, meh.
Right.
She's the only character you're really following, right? So she's not a survivor. I kind of saw that I didn't really feel for her. I felt like she wasn't a full protagonist.
Right.
You have to be a full protagonist. Like, and It Follows, where they leave it with the boyfriend and I think it's Jade walking, and you see that image behind them, and you don't know what it is. Always bothers me because I'm like, did they survive? Or is it still following them?
Yeah.
You know, and I just always found that shit really, really like creepy. What's another movie? I was so worried when I saw what's the one with the bride a couple of years ago, the games.
Ready or Not?
Ready or Not. I wasn't sure if she was going to survive.
Right.
Right. And I was wondering what's going to happen. And I was upset that the one brother who helped her at the end didn't survive. Like I find when characters have a shift and they become good people, I have a really hard time when they die.
Yeah.
It bothers me. Like I think Funny Games really, something like Funny Games is where I really thought about this, is that these guys are such pieces of shit and you just don't get the justice. Like in the Rape Revenge films or something like that, you get the justice. Like I Spit on Your Grave, stuff like that. You get the justice. Here, there's no justice. And I find that a really hard time to sit with.
Yep, and I think that's like why I like it, because it makes you feel. Because horror films are supposed to make you feel things. That's what horror is all about, and it can make you feel all sorts of things: anxiety, or just like excitement, or scared, or just completely just beaten. Like, oh, that happened. Oh God.
Yeah.
And I
You're
love
right,
that.
Scott.
Like, it's that feeling of just like it's obviously those films are not ones you want to go revisit all the time, because you don't want to have that feeling every single time you want to watch a movie, but I do love it because no other type of film really does that.
You're right. And that's the thing about horror, right? Is that, and true horror is when no one survives. I'm the one that kind of takes the sad route out because I don't like it. Now, if they're all pieces of shit, like, the Suicide Club, people don't survive in that movie. It's a depressing fucking movie. And like in movies like The Ring and The Grudge, even if you do survive, you're not surviving for long unless you're passing the curse on to other people.
Right.
There's no way out of it. Pardon me. And I think that bothers me when there's no way out of it. And I do dig, just like you, in that like female outsmarts, like even in something comical like The Final Girls.
Yeah.
Right. I do find that very rewarding and inspirational when something like that happens.
Yeah, especially because back then horror movies were trash as being misogynistic, when in all actuality they were empowering women, because they would always be like the strong female at the end. Yeah, there were misogynistic things that would happen during the films, but the ending would not be misogynistic. It would be very female empowered.
Yeah, right. Like if you look at the original Nightmare on Elm Street, it's Nancy overpowering Freddy Krueger, right?
Yeah, outsmarting him in every way. And
right. And even if we look at the original Halloween and we look at silent, oh my gosh, I'm not getting what is with Black Christmas?
Oh, yeah.
Like Silent Night, not Silent Night, Black Christmas. There is that kind of empowerment of the female overtaking, and I don't mind men in that role either, to be honest with you. A film like Becky, where it's a child. Now, mind you, she's not the only survivor, because she does save her stepmom and her brother, but like she's the one that basically fucks shit up the entire time. And so I don't mind when it's a kid either, but yeah, it's really, really interesting. But like, I don't know, like it's a really fascinating topic. And you're right, horror is supposed to make you feel things. And I think for me, it's just really, really tough when I see that no one's around anymore. And just hurts my little Heather heart. Right?
Yep, I can see that. Because I say, it even makes me feel, I'm just going, oh.
It's like, I'm going to go watch the new Jurassic Park film because, they're horrible films, by the way. In this one, the raptor has a baby and Chris Pratt has to save the baby.
I plan on seeing it at some point, because I may go to the theater, because it'll be a fun theatrical experience. But
it's such a guilty pleasure, is it not?
It is, but I'm keeping my hopes really low on this one, because I have been seeing some really bad reviews on this one.
Well, the last one was pretty bad.
There were some moments in that one, but
like the cloning of dinosaurs. Sorry for spoiling it, but guys, like if you haven't seen it, it came out several years ago now. I feel like everyone and their mom watched it. It's like a fucking Marvel movie. It's my version of Marvel movies. I watch all of the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World films, and every single time the brontosauruses die. And you know what? I'm really tired of brontosauruses dying in these movies. That's where I'm getting to. Like it was one thing in the first one, but then every single movie, and then like when they had the most recent one, Jurassic World, where like the brontosauruses are all dead because the hybrid dinosaur got out.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. But then when they're leaving the island and you watch the brontosaurus fall off the fucking dock, you know what? Why couldn't
they leave it behind as you see the fucking volcano erupting, and it's like, yep, you just left that one to die, and you're just like,
and it's crying.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what the fuck, man? Like, why is it always the brontosauruses? This is why. Because it pulls emotion from people, because it's all triggered towards people that watch a fucking Land Before Time in 1988.
Oh God, yeah.
And we're all fucking obsessed with Littlefoot, who was the fucking brontosaurus, and we saw the trauma with his parents dying in Land Before Time, and they're just fucking capitalizing on that. Fuck you, Land Before Time. Fuck you.
Another one to add to Children's Shudder.
Yeah, Land Before. This is the scene where all the dinosaurs die.
Yeah.
And Littlefoot's like can't find his parents because they're dead. Ugh. So, man, see, this is where my notes are. Well, that's not true. They do survive. There's a handful of kid dinosaurs that survive, and The Land Before Time is them just trying to survive the Land Before Time. It's a great movie, by the way, for all those people who aren't 40.
Adorable.
Didn't grow up on that film. But yeah, like it's just really fascinating, and it'll be interesting to see how films continue on. Like, and the lone survivor can be something like Midsommar,
Yeah.
where she's the survivor, but she's also like complicit now.
Yeah.
Right? Which is interesting too.
It's very like I'll say that's, and once again, why I love horror. It's so varied, and like how it reacts and like how it ends and how people are affected in it too.
And every film has a different way of doing it. Like one of the films that we enjoyed a lot last year, which is We Need to Do Something, really pulls on who you think is going to make it through that film.
Yeah.
And who you want to make it through that film and who may make it through that film. It's a really, really interesting concept. And there's also that sole survivor that survives, and you're like, you fucking piece of shit. Why did this piece of shit make it out? Right? And you're right. I think it does take a lot of gut for the directors to do that. So it'll be interesting to see. We think about the movie coming up, Halloween Kills. That's coming out at the end of this year.
Or Halloween Ends.
Oh, sorry, Halloween Ends. It's all the same shit. It'll be interesting to see who the survivors are there.
Yeah.
We should do a poll right now. So this so we're clear. I have not watched the trailer.
Is there
I have
a trailer?
no idea. I don't know. There probably is.
I don't think there is yet.
No? Okay.
The internet hasn't gone nuts yet, so.
True. We would hear on everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to just put a guess, and these are no spoilers because obviously Scott and I have no idea what's going to happen. I predict Jamie Lee Curtis will die again in this one.
Yep. I picture she will die, and the granddaughter will take down Michael.
I think this is what will happen. The mother will be intensive care. Somehow they would have got to the mother in time, and she's in intensive care. And Jamie Lee Curtis and the daughter are going to go take it on. Jamie Lee Curtis is killed. The daughter confronts Michael. Michael goes to the hospital to try to kill the mom after thinking he killed the daughter. They then actually killed the daughter. And because his idea is he's going to kill the entire generation. Because now we've made this personal. It went from not being personal before to now it's back to being personal.
Yeah.
And the daughter's going to kill him, but then she's going to put the mask on and she's going to become the new Michael Myers. That's my prediction. They're going to go the Danielle Harris route from part 4.
Interesting.
But they're not going to give up on it, and they're going to see what the feedback is and if they can spin off a series on it.
I like that. If they did that, I'd be like, all right, Halloween Ends. Bravo.
Right? That's my prediction. I could be 110% wrong. I am not a Halloween huge fan. So, I could be wrong completely, but I really do think Jamie Lee Curtis will die, and I predict the mother will be in intensive care. I don't think she'll come across as dead. Though I think this film's supposed to take place 10 years later, though.
Yeah.
So that may not make any sense.
True. I forgot about that part.
If that's even true, though.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just something they told people, that it's going to take place 10 years later. You never know with horror films. You never know.
Or they may just have some scenes tying in all the past and everything.
Right? You never know what it's going to be. Maybe it starts off with she's intensive care and she, who knows? Who knows, right? Because 10 years later, Jamie Lee Curtis would be 10 years older than she is in that last one. And that's a little elderly to be funny enough Michael Myers. It doesn't necessarily, anyway. So it will be interesting to see. But that's a series, for example, that's always relied on the sole survivor. But at the same time, Michael Myers surviving too.
Right.
So it will be really, really interesting. I think the sole survivor, the group survivor things I always enjoy is Final Destination, but then they never actually survive. You think they're going to survive,
till the next
but then
movie.
They actually never survive.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting concept. So we'll be back again in 2 weeks with a new country. I think we have a couple left that we want to do. And then we're going to announce a change to our format. So I think the countries that we have remaining are Ukraine, Russia.
Yep. Russia, Sweden, Finland.
Okay, so those 4.
And then an idea that I brought up to you, but to kind of finish off the horror from around the world, we'll do one episode where it's you pick 2 from Ontario and I pick 2 from Michigan.
Yeah, so I could pick Pontypool actually.
Yeah, and I could pick It Follows and stuff like that.
Fuck, I love It Follows.
Yeah, so it's we can do some homegrown horror for when we cap off the around the world horror films.
But we should probably push ourselves to do something that we haven't seen.
Well, I'll say if there is for you, there'll be plenty of options. For Michigan, I'm not sure if there's a lot of
That's
options.
true, because there's Ruin Me, was filmed in Michigan.
Wait, really?
Yeah, Ruin Me, wasn't it?
Let me look.
That's the Shudder one, right? Where she goes away on
on the escape
survival
room
camp
style retreat.
Yeah, it was filmed in Michigan.
Huh.
Scott is googling it right now.
I'm just looking up Michigan filmed horror films. So I know 2 of those are not accurate. The Evil Dead remake and Evil Dead 2 are not. It's just got Michigan actors and Michigan director in it. But It Follows, Don't Breathe, The Wretched, Pitchfork. God, I do not want to ever watch that movie again. um, yeah, not too many like on this list. I'll have to do some more digging, but yeah, Room Me doesn't show up on this list. But yeah, now that you mention it, I think you were right because I think I was kind of shocked by that.
Christian from the Exploding Heads podcast has had the director from Ruin Me on his show, and the guy talks about how it was filmed in Michigan.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I do
Right?
think now that you say it, it sounds familiar.
All right, so I should say from the Friday the 13th, or Thank God It's Friday the 13th commentary podcast. They had him on there. So yeah, anyway, that will be our ending of the countries, and then we're going to not go anywhere, but we are going to change our format up a little bit moving forward. But we will be finishing off. Oh, and we talked about doing Brazil.
Yes, yeah.
So that's going to be kind of our capping stone of different countries from around the world, which has been a really exciting process for us. Seen a lot of different movies. It's led to some good out of the dark topics as well.
Mm-hmm.
Where we're trying to do more opinion-based stuff out of the dark topics. It's just our own thoughts and stuff on how we feel things are. And of course, we're not looking for people to agree with us. It's just what our own preferences are. So
exactly.
Hopefully people have enjoyed what we've been doing. Hopefully people have enjoyed Scotty's long conversation about everything he's been up to, because Scotty's been living his best life besides the shooting at the carnival.
Yeah.
Everything else has been great though.
Yeah.
Right, Scotty?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind of activities.
It has been. And exciting news is at the end of this month, Scotty and I are going to AEW with Mandy.
Yeah, we are. And it's blood and guts, baby.
Oh man, it's gonna be great. Hopefully we get on TV.
Oh, that'd be great.
It'd be amazing. Poor Mandy. Oh dear, poor Mandy. She doesn't know how bad it's gonna be, the 2 of us together.
Oh, actually, I think
particularly over the top.
No, I think poor me, because you 2 are gonna be together, and I am so fucked.
Yeah, but you and I are gonna want attention at the rest of the event, so we're gonna be hollering and screaming, and like if MJF comes out, we're gonna lose our minds.
Right?
We're gonna just lose our shit because
we're gonna hold signs that promote our show, Friday Nightmares.
Oh yeah. Legion Podcast Network. Speaking of promoting our show, please follow us on the Legion Podcast Network as well. You can find lots of many other amazing shows. So hit the follow button and get down there, and you can download any of our episodes or other show episodes that you would like, as well as always, there's a Legion Patreon where you can have access to behind the scenes commentary, special podcasts that are done. And if you're not a Patreon member yet,
what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?
Please join today. It's only $3 a month, and it is well worth the money that you'll spend. So Scott and I will be back again in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for your patience as we took a little bit extra time between the last 2 episodes, but hopefully it was worth it. Scotty, do you have anything to say to the nice people?
Not anything extra. Just until next time, kiddies. Unpleasant dreams.
See ya.
Bye.